This morning I was making hash browns for the first time. It didn't turn out too great. It kind of became like a mess, but I was looking at it. It became kind of like a Rorschach test. I was like, is that the ceaseless discharge?
Oh,
ceaseless
God.
discharge?
Oh, that's this. I hate that boss so much.
Yeah.
He's so dumb.
I actually didn't have any trouble with it.
No, it's not that it's necessarily hard. It's just dumb.
It's just dumb. Yeah.
And his name.
Yeah.
Ceaseless discharge.
What even?
What were they thinking?
Hi, I'm John, and I'm a gamer.
Hi, John.
Gaming has come a long way over the last several decades. The debate on whether the medium is art has largely ended with a very conclusive yes, and around the world we're finally seeing people treat it with more of the respect that it deserves. With that in mind, and because I'm just as much of a game talker as I am a game player, I went around to all my gamer buddies to enlist their help in discussing games as art. So if you love gaming as much as I do, then join us. Trust me, you're among friends. Listen in as we discuss the themes, gameplay, and whatever else comes to mind. It's like a book club, but gaming. Today's topic? Dark Souls. All right, welcome to another episode of the Book Club Gaming Podcast. I am John, your host, and with me today are Adrien.
Hey again.
And Joel.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Dark Souls. I did it a little bit different this time. Normally I do the introduction and then I play the music.
Mm-hmm.
But with this game, it comes with such like a soft and mysterious, ominous sound.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be prudent to play it beforehand. But how did that make you guys feel?
Yeah, every time I start Dark Souls back up and you hear that, it's like, this is Dark Souls.
It makes me think of, the only reason it makes me think of this is because my brother would always have, like, one character, like, in his first save file, and it was, like, the naked character with nothing on, with, like, a club. And so that's what it makes me think of.
Because that's the character that would be...
Like, it's like, I forget what it's called. You can start basically with... Like, there's different starting classes, and one of them is just, like, deprived, I think, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you start with nothing, except for a loincloth and, like, a club.
Yeah.
And so that's what it makes me think of.
I think I started with the thief class,
Oh, yeah.
which was good because the master key was super useful.
Oh,
yeah.
This is my first and only time beating the game. And I didn't, like, 100% complete it or anything, but I think when I'm listening to it, that song, it's just, like... kind of fills me with a little bit of like excitement, but also a little bit of like dread, like, oh, I'm about to play Dark Souls. Yeah, I'm about to play Dark Souls. Oh, I'm about to play Dark Souls.
Yeah.
It's an interesting game in that, when I first started, I did the same thing. I got the thief class master key because that's what my friends told me to do. And they're like, if you want to avoid a lot of headache, going through the Blight Town, you want the thief class, you want the master key. And so that's what I did my first playthrough. And then the next one, I decided, okay, I'm going to see what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I missed much. It was a painful experience without the key.
Yeah.
Whereas with the key, it's a pretty quick shot. You just go down from Firelink down into the new Londo Ruins, and then you're only in there for like half a minute, and then you're up into the Valley of the Drakes for another half a minute, and then you're jumping right into which was really cool. I didn't know about that at first, so even though I had the master key, I made it through Blight Town the hard way first,
Oh, no.
then found the gate, found where it was, and I'm like, I could have just unlocked this the whole time.
It's a interesting little thing they put in the game, and you hear a lot of, like, at least in the last few years with FromSoft games and Souls games, people want an easy mode. They want an easy mode, and to me, like, that master key was like the biggest easy mode you could, like, that was an easy mode.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about this at length, or maybe we could just do it now, but like the way that the Souls like games are built by FromSoft, there's a lot of stuff in there to make the game easier or harder for you, depending on how you want to play it. So, with Dark Souls, you've got summons, you've got, stuff like the Master Key. You can have, actual people come help you, not just the NPC summons. You can upgrade your weapons. You can use magic.
Remember the Drake sword?
Mm-hmm.
How you can, at least this is what I did one of my first playthroughs. I sat at the bridge underneath it with the dragon's tail hanging off.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just sit there and shoot arrows at it for like 3 minutes straight, eventually the tail falls off and you get the Drake sword. And that thing is so much better than anything you can find in the beginning area.
Yeah.
It just, like, you cheese almost everything after that point.
Yeah.
Until a certain point, and then the difficulty scale ramps up and that sword becomes more obsolete.
Yeah.
I feel like learning stuff like that really adds to the replayability of this game, because there really are a million ways you could play it, a million things you could do.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I made it through most of the game with just a battle axe that I kept upgrading.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that did me fine, because I was so used to how it worked, and I didn't mind having to sit there for long amounts of time for certain enemies to do the right amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned being able to summon people or even get NPCs or other players to help if you're online and human. But then there's also areas of the game where if you're online and human, other players will be summoned to attack you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's Dark Souls.
On Londo, climbing those freaking like flying buttresses up the side of the castle, and then I get invaded right before going into the castle. So the fog door comes up on this little balcony.
Yeah.
And I end up having like the duel of my lifetime on this tiny ass balcony, and I barely survived. But it was just that moment of like, I just did so much work to get past all these stupid giants, the gargoyles going up the snipers on the rooftop with their giant longbows.
Yeah.
And to get to that point and be like, if this was all for naught, I don't think I can play this game anymore. But there's those moments of tension that I think are really special in that game, because of invasions. It's already a tough game, but I feel like I wouldn't want to play it without invasions. I played it without invasions, and it's just not as tense. That human element makes it more scary. It's like that person invading is scarier than anything else in the game, because they are either at my level or could be smarter, or maybe they're dumb. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're and they don't know what they're doing. And in that case, you're like, oh, okay, this isn't a big deal.
That speaks to like a really important thing I think about the game, is that humanity aspect is such a game changer when you have it and can hold on to it. For the first half of my game, I had a really hard time either obtaining it or once I had it, holding on to my humanity. Mm-hmm. So I would like reverse my hollowing and then I'd die like right away. And like, oh well, I guess I'm hollow again. And wasn't picking up too many like humanities or twin humanities or anything like that. A lot of times, if I got a twin humanity, I would use it to reverse my hollowing and then kindle a flame so that I could get 10 Estus flasks out of it.
Yeah.
But there were like certain points where I would get it from an enemy and then I would lose it before I could even use it at a bonfire. I was like, oh, it sucked. And so I guess for that reason, I didn't have to deal with too many invaders in the first part of the game. But at the same time, I didn't get to summon allies in the first part of the game. For the first, I think the first time I was able to summon an ally to fight was the Maneater, Meredith the Maneater.
Oh.
Maneater Meredith, is that her name?
Maneater.
Mildred.
Mildred.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mildred, Maneater Mildred to fight the Chaos Queen.
Quelaag,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, titties. So but also spider, so...
Booby spider boss.
Some of what I like, some of what I hate.
I bet you were very conflicted during that process.
I was very confused.
Well, you know what? I decided to hit it from behind, and it was actually a pretty easy fight.
Oh, there you go. That is true. You do want to definitely be behind that boss.
Yeah, and having Mildred the Maneater helps with that. It's Quelaag apparently is super easy to confuse, I found out, which is why I'm like glad that I had Mildred on my side for that.
Yeah. One-on-one, it's a pretty tough fight.
That's really, I feel like that about almost every boss in that game. There's times where it's like, okay, that was still a good fight with a summon, but there's a lot of boss fights that become extremely easy because the boss isn't focused on you, and some of those summons are like tanks.
Yeah.
They can take so much damage. So a good example of that, I think Solaire can take quite a few hits in Ornstein and Smough.
Yeah.
And it just, I remember the first time I summoned Solaire, and I was like, that was such an easy boss. I don't know why people say this is such a hard boss. I'm going to solo it next playthrough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my god. I was there for, I probably tried it like 15, 20 times before I beat it solo. It's a tough fight.
Yeah.
It's really, and depending on your level and what weapon you're using, it's a very tough fight. So a question I actually had is, did either of you start this game and give up and then come back to it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you go first?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I've started playing Dark Souls more than a few times, and then like get fairly far along in the game, hit something that's just really, really hard, and it's like I kind of lost the energy. You know, I'll be back, but I'll probably be a different character or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Definitely the same. I have started the game a couple of different times. I've rage quit at like some things. This playthrough, this was my first time finishing it, not my first time playing it. I actually finished it on the file that was my very first file starting it, because I retained it, and I was like, you know what, it'd be kind of like fitting for me to go back and like finish that one now that I feel ready and incentivized by having this deadline. I was like, might as well just do it. One of the things that made that one really hard was the game had made me very mistrusting of everything by this point. I had just finished the first bell, fighting those three, the gargoyles.
All gargoyles.
And I rung the first bell, came down, and there's this kind of creepy dude just chilling in the base of the tower. He wasn't there before, and I don't remember exactly what he said to me, but I was like kind of creeped out by it and mistrusting, and I didn't want to turn my back on him. I still had all the souls left from the gargoyles, so I just killed him. And it turns out that guy, what's his name?
Oswald the partner.
Oswald the partner. Super helpful to not have dead.
Yes, he is a very important NPC to keep alive and not. I can't remember, if you hit him, does he turn on you, or do you have to actually kill him?
It didn't matter. I killed him. Oh. So maybe if I had just stopped, he would have been like, "Stop it! Hey!"
Yeah. Actually, wait. Remind me what he does. Doesn't he? He removes your sin.
Yeah. So
like what? But what is that?
He sells purging stones for half the price of the trade, the undead female merchant. But then he can also absolve any other NPCs that are aggro.
Yes,
you, right?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah. He also sells some like Velka gear, which is probably not relevant to most players, but it's if you accidentally hit like Andre or something, and he's aggroed to you, you can go back to Oswald and get him unaggroed.
Oswald's like he's like the cool guy who's friends with everybody. He can kind of like, yeah, no, dude, like it was a misunderstanding. He's a chill dude. He didn't mean it. And that's the one guy I killed. So it's like,
like, don't accidentally hit anybody.
No, that's a pain. When I first started the game, I played it on Xbox 360, and I did the tutorial. The Crow took me to the Firelink Shrine, and I remember once I got there, I went. I guess there's not necessarily a wrong way, but in terms of difficulty, I went into the graveyard, and there's all these skeletons, and I've got like a base level like longsword, and I just got so pissed because you kill them, but they come back because you don't have a holy weapon or whatever. So you're just like, well, what is going on? I don't understand this. This is stupid. And then you finally run all the way over to the giant skeleton. You get the Zweihander. But I just remember getting my ass kicked so hard in that section that I stopped playing. I don't know why. I didn't even go into the other areas. I guess I just was impatient. And I was used to at the time a lot of games that would be much more hand-holdy, and they'd say, hey, maybe go that way, try this. Dark Souls doesn't do that. There are no real tips or tricks. There's nothing built into the game that will like guide you really, or you pretty much have to just go, it's exploration. It's trial by error, and you have to listen to the dialogue from the characters to understand where to go and what to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put the game down for probably 6 months, and I just didn't turn it back on. I told my brother. He actually recommended that I play it, and I just said, no, the game, it's not for me. I don't like it. It's too difficult. It doesn't really tell you what to do. It's confusing. But in those 6 months, I just remember at one point getting this drive, this fire to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to let that game beat me.
Better than this.
I'm better than that game. And so I went back and I just like fully dove in, and it was a very difficult first playthrough. I died a lot, but by the end you're like, okay, I get it. It's very pattern based.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a game that you shape. Like you were saying, there's so many ways to play it. You shape the experience. And that, I think, is the beauty of it to me, is that you shape each experience differently based on how you want to approach enemies, how you want to approach exploration, what order you do certain things in. There are certain times where you don't have to do things in order.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very open-ended game in that regard, and that's what I love. You know, there's different endings depending on certain choices you make.
I think that
So it's pretty cool.
there's a sort of a meta mislead that happens in that first part of the game where you could go up to the Undead Parish, or you could try and go into the graveyard.
Yeah.
And that mislead comes from the fact that it's now so well known as a very difficult game that if you're not given any direction and you decide to go into the graveyard and you find it to be hard, you might just be like, well, yeah, it's Dark Souls. This is probably this might just be the way I'm supposed to go. Like,
I think a pretty large subset of players did have that experience where they're playing it through blind and they're like, I guess this is the experience. I can't kill the enemies permanently, and it's just brutal.
There is one way, and I figured this out because I really wanted to cheese the game,
Mm-hmm.
and this is kind of the way I made it through most of at least the first 2/3 of the game, was just finding ways to cheese it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go into the graveyard and you lure those skeletons, because just left of the staircase that leads down into it, there's a cliff.
Yeah.
So I would lure them there, roll around them, and then just front kick them into it.
Oh, there you go.
And then they fall down, they can't regenerate, so you get the souls.
That is a good strat.
Yeah.
That's a good strat.
It was harder to. I don't think I managed to do it with one of the giant skeletons, but at least if you lure the smaller skeletons one by one to the ledge and take care of them, it clears enough of a path for you to get straight past the graveyard and into the.
Yes. Where Pinwheel is. What's that place called? Pinwheel.
It's not New Londo Ruins, is it?
No.
I think eventually you can get to New Londo Ruins that way.
No, that doesn't sound right.
I think it was the.
It's very dark. Isn't it?
That's the big pain in the ass, because I made it past this graveyard and then all of a sudden I can't see it.
Yeah, you need either the lantern, or there's that weird sunlight crown that you can get. That is what I used exclusively in there. Forget the lantern.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's the crypt with Pinwheel, and then there's the Tomb of the Giants.
Yes,
that's where it's
Tomb of the Giants. Yes, that place is painful.
Yeah. I will say, I do think that because of that meta-narrative of Dark Souls is really hard, and people like you experiencing, trying to go through the graveyard in the beginning of the game and, not knowing that that's kind of the wrong way to go, I do think there's actually a door in order to get into the graveyard, but it's permanently open. I think at one point there may have been a key requirement to go through there, and I think it would probably have been a better game for a lot of people if that was just locked to begin with.
Yeah.
And you can get through it with the master key, but you need the depths key or something to go in there.
Yep.
I think it would have improved a number of play experiences.
You just turn around, okay, guess not this way. It's fine.
Yeah. Now looking back, it's I can, in my head, I can see the path you're supposed to take to get to the end, and it's oh yeah, but it's just so jarring if you hadn't played this game ever, and most games teach you the area around you when you start is safe. It's where you're supposed to be, and this game just says, fuck that. This is not where you're supposed to be, but you can go there.
Yeah.
And you can try.
Yeah,
but
there are actually two areas that are brutally hard that you can get to from the beginning of the game, because you can go down to New Londo Ruins.
Yeah.
And that also has enemies that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't hurt.
Yeah, you can't even dispatch them briefly, like unless you get the transient curse.
Yeah.
Which I think to get those, don't you have to you have to find some or buy some, and then they drop them. I think.
Yeah,
if you kill
there
them.
are a few in the beginning of the area, so you can do it, but there's not really any reason to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But again, if you have the master key, you can go up into from New Londo Ruins, go straight up to the Valley of the Drakes, and then go straight into Blighttown if you want. But I mean, again, if you're early on in the game, although I think going in that path through New Blighttown, there's a couple of ways you can cheese those first few enemies that you have to get through. But then the crag spiders are just.
There's just they throw everything at you.
Yeah, you can, even without the master key, you can actually have Quelaag as your first boss, but you have to go through a bunch of New Londo ruins. You open the doors to drain the ruins, and then you can go out into Valley of the Drakes and then go down into Blighttown. But that's
such a backwards and painful. You could do it.
You can
but
do it.
It's
really
painful. It's painful though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of running, a lot of evading.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good time for the second question that you posted, Adrien, if you want to read that.
Yeah, sure. What made Dark Souls so genre-defining when Demon Souls was a similar game and came before it?
So I've actually not played Demon Souls. So when you posted that question, I was like, okay, well, I better do at least a little bit of research. And the biggest difference that I noticed in terms of core gameplay design was that with Demon Souls, you have more of a hub area with direct links to the different areas, whereas Dark Souls was built around the idea of one larger interconnecting world that's like a big snake that just keeps winding back in on itself. And I think that to me is very Dark Souls like now when I play other games, recently I told you guys I started playing Death's Door, and you've been playing it too, right, Joel? Yeah. And that one is very similar to where you get to a certain point in an area and then it unlocks a path backwards, but it's not quite all the way there. Where with Dark Souls it felt a little bit more intricate. With that one it's just okay, you made it to this point, you get a shortcut to it. With Dark Souls, you didn't have to go this way to get to that shortcut. You could have gone underneath it and gotten the shortcut, or any number of ways.
Yeah, the world really is folded onto itself, and I think those shortcuts really give you a feeling that, oh wow, this feels like a world. I think a lot of people have that experience when they take the elevator in Undead Parish, and it takes them back to Firelink Shrine, and that's a moment where you go, oh, holy shit.
This is directly underneath.
And you start looking around at the skybox, and it's oh shit, that's the thing. There's the bridge.
There's the chapel.
Yep.
From the chapel, you're oh, that's the Darkroot Garden.
Yeah.
The way it was, and games that came after it, even FromSoft games and other Souls, kind of Souls-inspired games that other companies have made, I haven't played one that has matched the level of continuity and immersion in terms of a world that Dark Souls has.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 2 was similar. It was kind of similar to Demon Souls, where it's not. There's Majula, which is kind of like a hub world, but there's no It's not like you're jumping into a portal or anything. It's you just teleport.
Yeah, teleporting is unlocked from the beginning.
Yeah, and for me, I like Dark Souls. I loved Dark Souls 3. 2, I was I played it all the way through. It was okay. I didn't like it as much. Played Sekiro, played Bloodborne, incredible worlds, but nothing that connected the same way as Dark Souls. Nothing that felt cohesive the same way Dark Souls felt. When I even think of Dark Souls 3, which is a beautiful game. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. It all still felt disjointed. There's just sections, and you're well, now I'm in this area. Dark Souls was maybe at the bottom, with this Hydra in the bottom of this field of underneath Darkroot Garden. But I still know, in my head, I know the path to get back to Firelink.
Yeah,
it's long, but I know where to go. Other Souls games, I'm I wouldn't know. Like, and sometimes they don't even connect. Like, I love the videos of Dark Souls 2's world, and they're like trying to actually create a physical map. And when they try to do it, there's no actual way, because like at one point you take like an elevator up, but then you end up like technically below. There's like all these videos that I watched, and I was like, yeah, they didn't think about it from a cohesion design point. It was just put different worlds out there.
Yeah, but it is clever, because unless you actually do try to put that thought into it and build that map, you'd be like, okay, those things are like elevators and tunnels and stuff like that, where you wouldn't really be able to see your surroundings and get a feel for. It's like, you would go. There's another shortcut. You can go from the Hydra back to the bonfire that's right there, go up to the Valley of the Drakes, and then go back down into New Londo Ruins, and then go back up into Firelink. And that's like 3 elevators. Yeah. But like,
the world is incredibly intricate. And I don't know if it was Miyazaki who designed the world himself, or if he just had a team do it, but whoever did it, it was a lot of effort, I'm sure, to figure out how everything would connect. And it's weird. I feel like a lot of games have taken the gameplay from Dark Souls and Demon Souls and really just hammered on that because it is popular. But I haven't seen the same level of I haven't seen games do what they did with the world. And I think that's what makes it special to me, and that's why I always come back to it and go, wow, even though I know where everything is, it's still a really special experience. It's just fun, and it's incredible to look at and go, wow, that's
and I know it must have taken a lot of work, because when you're building a game, like, there's so many other things going on that having the benefit of being able to move stuff around is so valuable. Things whenever you're making a game, you've always got a hardcore deadline, being able to like, oh, let's just glue this area to this area and call it good. Or, for gameplay reasons, you might need to swap levels around and things. So the fact that Dark Souls has this whole cohesive world means that they had to just grind on that so much. They really needed to have things locked down so that the world could be, continuous like that. And even Dark Souls, by the end of the game, all the late game areas are not as connected as the early game areas. And
it's true.
There's probably, Dark Souls is an unfinished game. You can really tell in some of the late game areas, and they didn't have time to give it the same level of connectivity because it's just so damn hard. And, they did manage some stuff where, you can, for example, in Tomb of the Giants, you can see Lost Izalith. So they still managed to fit some stuff in, but it's not connected in the same way.
Yeah, the level of polish definitely took a decline in the later game areas, and I think you're totally right. I think they were hitting deadlines and going, okay, we just have to do our best at this point. And it's unfortunate. A lot of games suffer from this. Cyberpunk one specifically, first mission, like real big mission, it was like, wow, this is incredible. Wow, it's so cohesive. There's so many choices. Things change based on what I do. And then after that, it's like, oh, they spent like all their time making this one mission, but they couldn't duplicate that out because it would have taken forever. And it comes down to, shareholders and, partners like Microsoft, Sony saying, we need this. We need this.
Also the fans. We need this.
Well,
Where is it? Where is it?
But I don't think developers, I think they care about their fans, but I don't think they care about fans saying we want the game just faster as much as they care about a big company saying, if you don't do this,
you're done.
Your revenue, our revenue, everything, like all these deals that they've made is on the line. And executives at, any developer are probably going, shit. Yep, we got to do it faster. Go.
And just to answer my own question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a lot about the world and its cohesion, and I think that has a big part of why Dark Souls is so beloved and why it really took off. There's also another dimension, though, which is Dark Souls came out on the 360 and the PS3, while Demon Souls only came out on the PS3. And PS3s, they were hard to find for a long time. I think they didn't really sell all that many.
They're expensive.
They're expensive. There weren't very many games on it because they were massive pain to develop for. And I think having it on the 360 meant that a lot more people played it. And there's also some other things. Demon Souls is kind of a wonky game, even more than Dark Souls. If you go back and watch like the zero punctuation on Demon Souls, the review, and Yahtzee Krasha is like, what the hell is this? And having played Dark Souls, loving Dark Souls, and coming back to it, he's like, okay, I understand this game now, but playing it blind in the beginning, especially where it's like you lose half of your health if you die, kind of stuff, and it's just like the game just, all the ideas were there, but the gameplay wasn't entirely there, and it didn't teach you how to play the game like Dark Souls did.
So I've never played Demon Souls, but that's what I've heard. My brother has played it a couple times, and he said something very similar, and it's like you can see where the lines were drawn from Demon Souls to Dark Souls and everything they probably learned when they created Demon Souls and how to improve that. And even I've only played like one level of Demon Souls, but I remember the controls being extremely, like, much more rigid than Dark Souls. Kind of, like you said, clunky, and you're like, it's a Souls game. I can see like where this evolved, but this was like a first draft almost. Like, like they were just trying to figure out how to do this.
Very much so.
But it still has an incredible like kind of cult following for Demon Souls, and enough to where they remastered it for the PS5. I really want to play it, but of course you can't find a PS5 unless you want to pay like $8-9 grand to get one, and I refuse. I refuse to buy into the scalpers.
We were just talking about how the first part of the game is that much more connected than the latter parts of the game, and that reminds me of one of my questions here. What do you think of the Firelink Shrine as a center point at the start of the game, and does it represent anything or have any significance to you guys personally?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely. It does have, like, to me, it has this feeling of you're starting out on a journey. It feels very much like it makes me think of like Pokemon, the anime, and Ash Ketchum starting in Pallet Town, and you're kind of like, you have like just your bare minimum of equipment, and you have to go out on this epic journey, and you might come back to Pallet Town or Firelink, and when you do come back, more people are starting to gather there, and it starts to feel like it is the heart of the whole game to me. And as you go on, it's not as important, but you still will come back from time to time, because I think they did a great job of making it central to a lot of areas, because it forces you to come back. And as you come back, it's like, oh shoot, wait, that person that I met in the in that one level is here, in Sen's Fortress. Oh, I think it's the like Big Hat Logan.
Yeah, Big Hat Logan.
Yeah, and you're like, oh shit, that guy. Now he's always part of my group, my crew. Sweet. And then he can sell you like magic spells and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know how to explain it. It just has a really kind of magical feeling about it. It's iconic. Like my wallpaper, I have like rotating wallpapers, and one of them is Firelink Shrine. It's just like this. Dark Souls is up there in like my top 5 games, and in terms of areas, like you have Honor Londo, and you have like Undead Burg and all these other places, but like Firelink is to me the most iconic in the game. The bonfire, and it's something like, maybe it's just something super primitive, like human from the get-go. It's like fire equals like safety, warmth, protection, and it's that one area where you feel like nothing can touch me. I've got all these different people who are like I've met along my journey. They're here. Like you can interact with them. You can buy stuff from them. Also, that I think is also part of it is the people there, are not out to get you.
Right.
Whereas the rest of the game is just like, you don't know. Yeah, like you said, Oswald. Is he gonna kill me? I don't know. I don't know who this guy is. What is he doing here? Whereas for the most part, except for what's that one guy?
The guy who kills the Firekeeper?
Yes. What's his name? He gives you the Ring of Favor and Protect, or you get the Ring of Favor and Protection.
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name.
The FAP ring. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's what the community.
That's what the community calls it. What's his name? He has the gold armor. Why am I blanking on him?
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name.
He's such an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
He kills the Firekeeper. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, but even him, he's not gonna like try to kill you there. I guess long story short, yeah, it's like this safe space, this safe zone in the game, and it just has a very iconic like feel to it.
Adrien, how about you?
Hang on, I'm looking up who this is.
We gotta know.
Yeah,
we gotta know.
I gotta know.
Why can I not remember?
It's such a thing. Okay, because like
his name is Lautrec.
Yeah, Lautrec.
Okay.
Yes. His armor's pretty sick though.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I didn't even get his armor. It was like I don't even want to deal with it.
You find him underneath the bell tower. Like in the tower itself, you have to break through some boxes or something, and he's in a cell.
Mm-hmm.
And you can let him out, or you can let him sit there.
Mm-hmm.
I let him out, and he killed the Firekeeper.
Yes.
So I
and then did he disappear?
He disappeared, and the bonfire went out for a while in the Firelink Shrine. Like you couldn't restart it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sucks because this was like the spot, like you were just saying.
So did you ever figure out where he went?
I didn't. I don't think I did.
Okay.
No, yeah.
It's like much later in the game. You have to use a black eye orb or something.
Yep.
And you basically like summon into his world.
Yeah,
he's gone to a different world.
Him.
You invade him, and he's got like a couple homies with him who are pretty powerful. They have like one of the giant longbows or something, and like so you're trying to like run and fight him. And if you fight him and kill him, you get his armor when you come back. And I think something else.
You get something to revive the Firekeeper.
Yeah, and so you can revive the Firekeeper.
Okay.
But it's like, this is all the way in Orlando.
Yeah, it's in Orlando.
Like, this is
already
way
there,
further
I'm
down
already
the
there.
line.
I'm not really going back to Firelink anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I think there are a few things going on with Firelink, and I think that story is an important one in the game, where at first, the world of Dark Souls is so inhospitable, and Firelink is that one place that is safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the developers knew this. There are very few places in Dark Souls that have music, and Firelink is one of those places specifically because they want you to feel safe there. And Lautrec killing the Firekeeper is this violation of that safety.
Yeah.
They use that. One, as a way, it's kind of an emotional gut punch. It's a way for them to kind of really shake things up. But also, when Lautrec kills the Firekeeper, it's a way of pushing you farther into the game because suddenly they're saying this place isn't going to be useful for you anymore, and you don't really need to go anywhere that's near Firelink on your way to Orlando. So that's really a good way that developers just subtly push you along in the game. Even better, there's a shortcut right to the next nearest bonfire, which is up near Andre, and that's actually the bonfire that you need in order to go into Sen's Fortress.
It's like right there on the bridge.
Yep.
So there is that. So, and I guess, that would be the next closest. For a second there, I was thinking you might be talking about the one on the way into Blighttown if you take the Valley of the Drakes, but that's a little bit of a sprint.
Yeah, I think basically every player, when they get back to Firelink and there's no bonfire, go to the Andre bonfire.
That's fair. Thing is that the Firekeeper was killed before I got the second bell run.
Really?
Yeah, because I talked to, what's his name?
To Lautrec?
No, to Lautrec, yeah. I talked to him and he even said something cryptic like, I might be moving on now soon. This Firekeeper has served me well, but I think I'm just about done with her. And I had no idea when he said that. I mean, it was kind of a creepy way of putting it, but I had no idea he was about to murder her. Yeah. So I was like, all right, whatever. And I just
I didn't know that. I
moved
thought you
on.
always killed her after you rung the second bell.
And I had just rested at the bonfire, talked to him, And then I went down and then up through the Valley of the Drakes and into Blighttown, and then I died, and then I got summoned back at the bonfire. And I think at that point I was using one of those rings that lets you retain your souls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, while I'm here, I might as well attune this. I had just gotten the remedy spell, which was going to be super helpful for Blighttown.
Right.
And I had all these souls, and I was like, I might as well level up and attune that spell, but I couldn't because the bonfire was out. And I was like, what the fuck happened to the bonfire? And then it was like, you can't start the bonfire again because the firekeeper is gone. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I went down there and she's dead and this dude's gone. And I'm like, what did you do? But I could still use it as my spawn point because it was the last bonfire I had rested at. So at the very least there was that, but I had to just keep fighting my way back from there until I got to the bonfire that's at the bottom of Blighttown.
That's brutal.
If you do another playthrough, if you want to bypass all that, when you see him at the bonfire, just kick him off the cliff.
You can just kick him off the cliff?
Yeah, you can just kill him. You don't have to let him do that. Yeah. You can kill him immediately, and then he drops his... You don't get his armor, but you do get the Ring of Favor and Protection.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even get his armor anyway, so
like, that is one of the things now when I do extra playthroughs, I don't even... If I do another one, I will do this full storyline for him, but usually I'll just kick him off the cliff. And I'm like, I need that ring, thanks. And then and then he just falls. He's like, oh, shit.
It's so funny. I'm sure he doesn't really say that, but like...
Well, it would be funny. Just imagine him. But, I mean, because all you're really getting from keeping him alive is his armor later down the road. But if you don't care about his armor, it's like, well, the ring's pretty OP. Because it buffs your life, magic, and stamina. It's like
it also
all three
your
carry capacity too.
Boosts your carry capacity.
Oh my God, that would have been so useful.
So if you stack that with like Havel's ring, you can carry so much weight, and you just fast roll in everything.
I was pretty much using Havel's ring and the for a lot of it the Rusted Iron ring because there was like especially when fighting the Hydra or going through Blighttown, like that's a really useful one to have. But that was the other thing. Oh, but before we move on, I do want to talk a little bit more about the Firelink Shrine. It's been talked about already how it is sort of like this one safe gathering place. Like out of this whole world, which especially in the first part of the game is just like kind of disgusting and dangerous. Like it's funny. The one safe place that people have to default to is this Firelink Shrine, and it doesn't even have a roof over most of it. There's like one roof over the place where that one dude from that Covenant hangs out. I forget his name. But he's waiting for his group, and they show up, and then apparently he loses them again, and he ends up back there. But and even that room has like a hole in it. So, but yeah, there's no. It's not really shelter, but it's the only place where enemies aren't actively coming at you. Even then, you could lure enemies to it, and there were times where I almost killed an NPC because I was trying to
by the skeleton in Firelink.
Yeah, or something like that, or even one of the undeads that had followed me that I didn't realize, and all of a sudden they were slashing me from behind, and I'm like just trying to lure them away from the NPCs so that I could kill them. But people will start to gather there. The more that you find, the more show up there. But even then, they're not sitting all around the fire. There's one person sitting next to the fire. And everyone else is just sort of like hidden behind the ruins in different places. Like it does a lot of world building and setting the tone of like even if this is the place that everybody's gathering, they're not friends. Yeah, they're not like having a party at the Firelink Shrine. They're like, you know what, this is the one safe haven, but I'm also not in a place emotionally or mentally or any of that to want to like sit and meet new people and like really hang out. Except for you, the chosen undead who saved me from a barrel that I was somehow stuck in.
Thanks,
I'll sell you some magic. Yeah. So to me, I don't know. It was a very interesting idea. It's also like a place where you can see a lot from. If you know where to stand and where to look, you can see a lot of the areas from it, which is a really cool thing to have in the intro. I don't know. Can you see the Undead Asylum? I know it's the way to get back to it is to go and curl up into a ball again.
It's off map.
It's like a whole other area, right? Okay. But yeah, I do think that the Firelink Shrine is more iconic as a starting point of the game than the Undead Asylum.
Oh yeah.
Like I kind of for a while when I came back to my playthrough after being away from it so long, I had forgotten about the Undead Asylum until I was following a guide and it was like, oh, we should go back to the Undead Asylum to get the Rusted Iron Ring, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. How do I do that?
Remind me, does the ring come from? Because there's a second boss you can fight there. Is it from that boss?
No, I didn't end up killing that boss.
Pain.
You have to get past a Black Knight.
And
it's like hiding. The ring itself is like in your cell.
Oh, okay.
You have to go back to it.
Okay.
Yeah, along with the doll.
The doll, which that's an entire man. Yeah, if you don't read a guide, you can miss an entire section. The painted world.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. Like I remember the first time doing that, going, how would I have known
How are you supposed
to go back to my cell to get the doll, and then how would I know what the doll does? It doesn't even say. It's just like, but that's kind of the beauty of the game. Is it kind of speaks to older games where it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right before internet was. I mean, there was the internet. Obviously, there was guides online back in 2010 or 2009 is when this came out. 2011. There was guides. But most of the knowledge I gleaned was from talking to my brother, and we have other friends who play the game, and you just kind of figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And you go, oh shit, yeah. I walked up to this painting and it like just had a doll in it. I guess it worked.
Yeah. And the developers knew this, and they included a whole system to let other players in the game to like swap ideas, through the
orange
system.
stones. Yeah.
The orange soapstones are still the best. You could put some pretty wild combinations of text together if you got creative. Oh, Guinevere.
Or the famous just skeletons.
Yes. And then, or I'd love it if you would. What is it? There's like this is maybe Dark Souls 3 or something, but like there's one point where there's a skeleton laying like flat. Like, but his legs were down and he was like hunched over a stone, and it was like, what does it say? Like rear attack required or something? And I was just like, what? And you're like, I mean, yeah, it's the beauty of player communication is that you get one, helpful tips, you get people who are trying to mislead you, you get comedy, so it's just the human element infused directly into the game, which is a beautiful thing.
There's this one part of the game that has like this invisible bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's like, at least when I came across it, there was orange soapstone writing on it, and this is the indication to me like, oh, there's something I could walk on here maybe, or I don't know if it's supposed to be here, but it's here.
Yeah.
And
those are actually developer messages.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. So even if you're offline, there will be a few of them on the bridge.
Okay.
Just to help you.
Yeah. Just there are a few points where the developers felt that it was so important that they hard-coded some messages in places.
It makes sense.
That's good.
I was gonna say, how would you even get across? I don't even know how you would.
You wouldn't know.
Unless you can
an enemy was walking across it or
like
something.
faintly the snow.
Yeah, because there's all this crystal stuff falling.
Yeah.
It does stop there, so you can kind of figure it out, and they've got some little particle effects on it to try to
That's
help you
rough.
out, but
Yeah.
My God. That kind of leads into this question. Dark Souls is often regarded as having started the trend of modern games that are tough as balls, but for fair reasons. Like there was Nintendo Hard, but Nintendo Hard was sort of not really fair all the time. It was kind of meant to artificially extend the game. What does it say about the gaming medium and how far it's come that there are games that are so popular despite or maybe because they require such a high level of gaming literacy to even get to the end of them?
I'm torn on, like, not all of them are copies, but I mean there's a lot of games inspired by Souls, but I honestly, and this is just probably a personal thing, I've played some of these other games, like Lords of the Fallen is one I played, and it's supposed to be Souls-esque. I haven't played a Souls copy or a Souls inspired game that isn't from Software that I loved. Because I think the missing link is the world and the lore around the world, as well as the human element, and I mean not just the soapstone writings, but like the NPCs in a lot of Souls games are very intricately designed. Like some of them are sneaky, some of them are friendly, some of them are totally aloof. And I feel like a lot of games that try to make a hard game like Dark Souls in the same combat style all they focus on is combat being hard, and they forget everything else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, I think Lords of the Fallen is a good example of this, where I think some developers looked at Dark Souls combat and they're like, it's just really clunky. You know, all the weapons take forever to swing. We'll just make a really clunky combat system and people will love it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Dark Souls clunkiness is very intentionally designed. And I'm sure it took a hell of a lot of tuning to get right. And if you just make a game with really clunky attack controls, it's not going to work as well.
Yeah.
I do think, if you want to look at a Souls-esque game that missed the mark, you can look at Dark Souls 2 as well as an example of, it wasn't the same team. Apparently, I think Miyazaki came in only for the last 6 months of the game.
He consulted on it.
Where he basically came in late and tried to get it unscrewed, but the game was still kind of a mess. And I think you can see a lot of, it's a good thing to contrast the original because you can see where things worked out and where things didn't. And I think one of those things is like, you talked about the fairness. Dark Souls 2 is not a fair game. There are multiple situations where, either it's just a long corridor filled with tough as balls enemies and it's not fun. There are situations where there's no possible way for you to avoid basically getting killed. And Dark Souls 1, for the most part, doesn't have that. And you can really see the developers of these other games taking the wrong lessons from Dark Souls. Where that fairness really is critical to the game.
And do you think there's anything like wrong with locking such a culturally important story as Dark Souls has become behind there's like a high barrier to entry for this game?
I don't think Dark Souls would work without its difficulty. It is a core part of the game, of everything having to do with the game. And like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things that you can do to make the game easier. And I think the difficulty as is needs to be there. You can say it is like it's locked behind this high barrier of entry, but like one of the reasons that Dark Souls was so popular was because it came out against a backdrop of a lot of games becoming easier in order to attract a wider audience. I think at least for me and my friends, there was a lot of frustration with games getting easier and more hand-holdy. A lot of us were like Nintendo gamers, and in the Wii era, where Nintendo was basically saying,
just have fun.
And you had games like Skyward Sword coming out where there was all of this frustration with like, dude, this game is easy, it's hand-holdy, and Dark Souls was this massive hard break from this. And a lot of hardcore gamers were like, thank you for finally making a game for us.
I totally agree with that. And I think that a lot of other storytelling mediums, to me especially reading, if you read a book, some books are written at high reading levels. And if you're not at that reading level, you're probably not going to be able to get through the book. And that's just the way that those books are written. To me, two that come to mind would be like A Clockwork Orange, which if you've ever read is basically written half in a language that you have to kind of decipher as you go, and it gets easier by the end of the book. You're like, okay, I don't really need to sit there with a pen and paper and figure out what he's saying anymore. I kind of get what he's saying. It's like this, I forget what the name of it is, but it's like this like slang. The other one that it really reminds me of is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I think aesthetically probably closer to Bloodborne with that gothic aesthetic and sci-fi-ish. But like with that book, not only are you having to keep track of the fact that it's a story within a story within a story, but the text itself is very like, it comes in like these big long blocks, and it's also sometimes very hard to keep track of who's saying what and when in the timeline this particular moment's happening, or even just like the dialogue. Sometimes you're like, wait, what? You have to reread it 3 or 4 times. And I know a lot of people who picked up that book and promptly put it down because that's just not the level of time, energy that they were willing to invest, or they hadn't been prepared by other books for so long. to be able to read through this one. And even for me, like I did a fair amount of reading. I had a really tough time with that book, and I did put it down a couple of times, just like I put this game down a couple of times for a while before eventually going back to finish it. I think the reason I finished Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was because I had a class. So just like with this one, I finally finished the game because I had a deadline.
Yeah.
I think that it is important to have games for gamers that want to have more expected of us. It is gratifying. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do think that it points to the importance. One of the things that I really want to advocate for is to have gaming literacy be taught at a compulsory level. And maybe not get everybody up to Dark Souls level by the time they're leaving high school, but you should be able to play a video game. Because I do think that a lot of the most culturally relevant stories moving forward are going to be told through video games. And kids in school should at least have the opportunity to decide for themselves whether or not this is a medium that they can pull from, enjoy, and really dive themselves into.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another interesting thing, we mentioned the the difficulty and that like barrier to entry to experience the game. There's actually another barrier to entry, which is that all of Dark Souls' story has to be figured out. There's an entire cottage industry of YouTubers who, try to puzzle out parts of the lore, and that's really cool. There's still all of this stuff going on because you can play through the game and basically miss all of that.
That's what I did. I finished the game, and then I was like, all right, now let's figure out what it all meant. I started watching videos.
Yep. And you're like, you could very easily go through the game and be like, I don't know who these statues are of people. I don't know who this character is. Like, I just showed up and killed a dude.
It makes me think, especially my first time playing with, Lord Gwyn, Guinevere, Gwendolyn.
Yep.
And just that, like, dynamic right there there's a lot behind it.
Oh, yeah.
But at a surface level, you're just playing through, you go through Honor Londo, you find Guinevere, you're like, okay, boobs. You're like, all right, cool. And then you're like, you kind of have to find Gwendolyn in a really weird way. Yeah. And even still, you're like, I don't really know what's going on here. Right. But if you do read through different items and descriptions, and this, a lot, like you said, a lot of YouTubers, it's like a full-time job, I'm sure, to go through all of the items in the game
and the dialogue
and pull out, well, what does this mean?
Yep.
Vati Vidya is one of my favorite Souls YouTubers, and he has like a gazillion videos on just Dark Souls lore, Demon Souls lore. He does lore on like every Souls game.
Yeah.
But yeah, to both of your points, it's incredibly dense in terms of what is actually behind the game, and the barrier of entry is high. Yeah. But it's there if you are interested in the stories.
Yeah.
I like the subtle storytelling of Dark Souls. You kind of get enough from the dialogue to understand what's happening, kind of. But then, if you want, you can go deeper.
Yeah. And I think there's, at the very beginning of the game, there is that cutscene where they explain just like the very early history of the world. And I think it's critical that they have something straightforward.
Yeah.
Because if they dropped you in and told you nothing, it would be like a lot harder.
Yeah.
And even that cutscene is still pretty cryptic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like, see the skill list. Okay, but and there's kind of like, it's almost like they're explaining it to somebody who exists in the world. Like, this is the story you would hear around the bonfire.
Indeed.
You were going to say something, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like if you do like the TLDR version, it's like Gwyn and the giants didn't like dragons. The dragons didn't like them. Seath betrayed his own. And now you are you have awakened as a, what's it called?
Chosen Undead.
Yeah, the Chosen Undead to link the first flame.
Yep.
And Gwyn has gone hollow, basically.
Yeah, they do explain in the intro, it's like the fire is fading.
Yeah.
Gwyn, I think they mentioned that Gwyn linked the first flame.
Yeah,
but that the fire is still fading, and because of that, there are undead.
The curse of the undead is sort of an inevitability, I think. And I think inevitability is sort of like a big part of the name of this game. Like the big theme from what I understand, both in my playthrough and then in like watching a bunch of videos of people explaining it to me, is that everything that begins ends and every ending leads to a new beginning.
Mhm.
And like every fire that's lit will eventually go out.
Yes.
And even you have that choice at the end of the game where you can fail or achieve rekindle or relinking that first flame.
Yep.
But one of the YouTubers, I'll try to figure out who it was and maybe put a link in the description, had kind of postulated that it doesn't really matter because either you rekindle the flame and the cycle starts over again and it eventually starts to go out and the Curse of the Undead returns, or you don't rekindle the front flame, you start another age of darkness, and eventually a new age of fire will spawn the same way it did the first time, and then the whole process restarts again anyway.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it's proposed that a few thousand years pass between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, and you don't see, like, I haven't played Dark Souls 2, but it's not like the world has advanced very far. It's sort of like the same thing is happening over and over again.
Yeah, so Dark Souls 3 is really the game that you want to play if you want to see, because Dark Souls 3 addresses like what happens because of this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls 3, it's basically it assumes that people have been linking the flame for ages, and slowly they're running out of fuel to relink the flame, where the whole world is basically being burnt on the altar of the first flame in order to keep it alive. And eventually you go far into the future and there is nothing but ash. The entire world has been burned to ash.
What was that? Yeah, what's that boss's name that you fight there? He's the guy with the red cape and the giant sword, and he's really tough. But yeah.
Where finally, in that last DLC, it answers, how can you create a new world, which is the distilled essence of what was left. Gale or something?
Yeah, Night Gale or...
But you take his blood, which basically contains the purified essence of like the Dark Soul or something, and you take it back to a painter who uses it to paint a new world.
It's some wild stuff.
Which is wild.
It's some like very, almost kind of like Studio Ghibli-esque type. Like, I don't really understand what's going on, but if these are the rules, cool. All right.
Just try to enjoy the
whatever.
But you've got this like, just everything has been burned to ash. Everybody has linked the fire. Every soul has been burned.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything left.
Yeah.
That's so heartbreaking.
You should play 3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay. Skip 2?
You
play
skip
3?
I would honestly, I would just skip it.
Okay, I'll play 3.
I would say if you play 3 and you still really love Dark Souls and you want more, you can come back to 2. But honestly, your time is better spent playing like Bloodborne or Sekiro.
What's that Star Wars one?
Oh, Jedi Fallen
Order. Yeah, that one.
That's a great game.
I want to play that one.
It's a good game.
To do an episode on that one day.
I'm
hooked on the Souls-like.
It's the Dark Souls of Star Wars. It's the meme, right? Like,
it's like Dark Souls.
It's like Dark Souls, but Star
I would
Wars.
probably replay Demon Souls before I replayed Dark Souls too.
And now with the remake, I mean,
exactly.
I hope it comes to PC. I'll just play it there. Sony started to do this thing where they're like, oh well, if no one can get a PlayStation, just put it on PC. I'm sure they're like biting their tongue every time though. They're like, Microsoft.
And Microsoft is like,
yeah.
But not that it's that much easier to get a hold of an Xbox Series X right now.
Pretty much anything. Graphics card, Xbox, PS5. It's like you're at the mercy of ridiculous prices.
Yep.
Adrien, you had the next question ready?
All right. Let me find it. Okay, so favorites and least favorites. Let's start with areas.
My favorite area would be Londo. How's it go?
Honor Londo?
Honor Londo, yeah. Not New Londo Ruins. Honor Londo. for the exact reason that I really don't like New Londo Ruins, although that's not my least favorite. But it's the first area when you get to Young Londo where things actually look kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there's some wreckage here or there, but for the most part, things look very it's nice straight lines and pretty looking stone structures, and everything's got this nice gold light quality to it. Up until that point in the game, at least for my playthrough, I hadn't come across any area that was quite that nice. Honestly, in retrospect, I think that was still the nicest area that I found personally. I know you're talking about the painted world. I don't know. I never actually got to get into that one.
It's cool, but I wouldn't say it's it's still kind of like that dilapidated, classic Dark Souls feel in the world, but it's got snow, so that's nice.
And it is, and Young Londo is home to a bunch of way harder enemies, so it's not any less deadly. If anything, it's more deadly.
Oh yeah.
You have all those precarious walkways and stuff, but at least aesthetically, it's this is nice. This is a good break from that. And I just really enjoy that aesthetic of it. Least favorite would be the sewers, that maze of sewers that took me forever to figure out where I was going. Yeah, the depths. Yeah. Oh my god, that was just. And eventually, when I figured out how to get from the bonfire to where I wanted to go and fight the gaping dragon, okay, that's a pretty quick trip. Especially with there's this little shortcut. Mm-hmm. You have to time your jump to not fall down the drain. Mm-hmm. Where there's that rat that lures you into into the little pitfall.
I hate.
Damn it!
Yeah, that place is just dirty. The depths
so gross.
Is rats, sludge monsters. There's those butcher people down there, and you're just
the dogs.
But Lower Blighttown, arguably is the depths of the depths.
Yeah.
And yet still I find the depths themselves to be the dirtier feeling, even though you're literally wading through poison sludge.
I think it's just because it's such tight quarters and it's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It's if you make one or two wrong moves, you could be overrun. Mm-hmm. It's rough. It's a rough place.
It was also the first time I ever got cursed in the game. Was
the
basilisks.
Frogs.
Yeah. I hate the cursed frogs. The basilisks, right? I think is their name.
Yeah.
God, and that was that was when I realized how much I'd messed up by killing the partner.
Oh yeah.
Because suddenly I had to save up twice as many souls if I wanted a purge stone.
Yep.
I have a good story about the curse mechanic in the game. My cousin was playing through Dark Souls for the first time, and he had started it, and me and my brother had come over to visit him, and he was like, "Oh, can you help me? I'm stuck in this part." So we loaded up. He's in the depths. His health is the lowest you can possibly get. It's maxed. His health is maxed. He's been cursed 10 times.
Whoa.
And so we were like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. My health just kept going down whenever I would run into one of the frogs or something or whatever. Yeah. So he just got cursed over and over and over. And so I kid you not, one hit from anything, he's dead. And so my brother and I were like, okay, we got this. So we had to make this epic run because he couldn't teleport either. So we had to make this epic run from that bonfire in the depths all the way up. And then after that, you have to have enough souls to buy the purging stone. And so it took us a while, but we couldn't believe that he had gotten down to that much, literally one hit's worth of health.
I didn't know they could stack.
Yeah.
The curses.
Yeah.
Because I fixed mine right away.
Oh,
does one purge stone still bring you back to normal?
Yeah.
Okay.
You need one, but it was it will keep stacking until you're at the bare minimum.
Saving up at minimum 3,000 souls when you are one hit away from death constantly. What were you doing? Just killing undead soldiers?
Yeah, you have to be perfect. Yeah. It's you just find the weakest enemy possible and get as far away,
souls apiece.
Get out of the depths, or kill whatever is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And just be perfect.
Yeah.
Be absolutely perfect. But yeah, you made me think of that one. The curse sucks. It's horrible.
You got least favorite areas?
I do. But before we get to that, I actually have a question for you because you said your favorite is Honor Londo, but did you ever kill Gwendolyn?
No.
Because there's a lot of lore behind why Honor Londo looks like Honor Londo.
Yep.
It doesn't actually look like that.
Oh,
Gwendolyn is putting a spell on Honor Londo to make it look nice and beautify it, but if you kill Gwendolyn, it goes back to darkness.
Oh, I don't think I killed
Gwendolyn.
So what it is, Gwendolyn is an optional
it.
boss, and the way that you transform Enter Londo is you have to attack Guinevere.
Right, that's what it is. That's what it is. Because Guinevere is a mirage.
Yes.
The big lady,
big
right?
boobies are not real.
I just walked. I saw that. I was like, nope. I turned around.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
So he's casting, or Gwendolyn is casting. The spell.
Yeah, Gwendolyn is casting the spell, and Guinevere is fake.
Yes. So that is one of those things where it's like you could go and totally miss that.
Yep.
But if you have to, I think you get that dialogue from Gwendolyn, or somewhere
when you attack Guinevere, Gwendolyn speaks to you.
That's right. Yeah, Gwendolyn gets pissed.
Yeah.
And then you have to go down like the weird like mechanical staircase to the bottom level. There's like an invisible door.
Yeah. Only in dark.
It's wild.
Only in dark Enter Londo does this door appear.
Yeah, that's right.
And it leads to the tomb of Gwen.
Yes.
See, I think at that point of the game, I was like following the guide just to finish the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And because I was on a bit of a time crunch, and I was enjoying every little side thing, and I think I will do another playthrough now that I know all this extra stuff.
You should. I think it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Because I missed that my first playthrough too. I just didn't know, and then I went back the next time. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of context here I totally missed.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just so you know, so you can go back.
So it's not really like that. My favorite place in the game.
It's all a ruse.
Yeah.
It's all a ruse.
Well, you know what?
I hate to burst your bubble.
I was blissfully unaware.
Yeah, I know. Favorite place in the game for me is I actually like Darkroot Garden a lot. There's something very mystical about it, kind of. For lack of a better word, magical. It's got all these like pretty lights and like this cool forest scene. There's a bunch of weird tree enemies and stuff. One of my favorite bosses is there, which is actually will show up later in the game, but the Monarch what's it called, Moonlight Butterfly.
Yeah, Moonlight Butterfly.
I didn't kill the Moonlight Butterfly.
Very not like a crazy hard boss, but still to me one of the most memorable areas. It was going there and going like, I don't know why there's a giant moth here, or why it's glowing, and why it's shooting laser beams at me.
Right.
But this is so cool. And you also get, I think, one of the first embers at the top of that tower.
Yeah, you get the Divine Ember.
Yeah. So Darkroot definitely has its flaws, but to me is one of my favorite areas. Also just love that there's that pathway that leads down to the basilisks at the bottom, as well as the tower where you find Havel and get Havel's ring. Yes. And I remember the first time phasing him, I actually, like, it threw me off. I was like, is this another, like, a real person? Because he fights pretty wild. You're like, whoa, what the shit? And, like, one hit from his dragon tooth, you're dead. Yeah. So I remember just, like, going in, getting killed immediately and going, what?
Oh, sorry, what?
And I went all the way back, and I just was like the most cautious battle of my life. You just, like, circle him a bunch and then backstab.
Yep.
And it took, like, 20 backstabs to kill him.
His armor is amazing, so he takes just, like, an insane amount of damage.
Yeah.
I think I used the lightning powder.
Yes.
Killed him quickly.
That'll help, definitely.
And then I didn't go, for the first time finding Havel, I didn't go through the basin.
Okay.
I came down from the parish, I think. Or where is it?
Undeadburg.
Undeadburg, yeah. I came down from Undeadburg.
Yeah, you can, instead of fighting Taurus Demon, you can go down and fight Havel and go out into Darkroot.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But I didn't go from, and then I think that's when I realized, like, oh, this is a shortcut, because I had been to where the Hydra is, but I didn't know I could come from this direction too. But keep going, sorry.
And then least favorite area? The Witch of Izalith is in the Demon Ruins, correct?
She's in Lost Izalith.
Okay, then not Lost Izalith. Demon Ruins is the one where you find like the Capra demon has been multiplied into like a 10, and it's just a normal enemy. I love that.
But they're
meme where
like
it's
kind of smaller.
I think they're the same size.
Yeah, they're the same enemy.
Okay, I'm thinking of there's like a smaller version of the Capra Demon after you drain the Lake of Lava.
So it's the same one.
It's the same size. It's just
maybe it's because it's an open area.
Yeah, it's an open area.
That to me is that's where you can start to see like they were running scarce on time, because it's literally like they started doing copy paste jobs.
Yeah.
To finish this area out. To me, like, it's not horrible, but it's just underwhelming. There's not a lot there. Like,
yeah, Demon Ruins isn't a great place.
You do find Solaire somewhere. Is that in Lost Izalith or Demon Ruins?
Demon Ruins.
Yeah. So there's like some, like, and to me, we can talk about this too, but favorite NPC is Solaire. He's like kind of like the go-to for most people. He's the most memorable. He's got the iconic gesture. Some very iconic dialogue, jolly cooperation, like. But that is the only redeeming factor for me in Demon Ruins, is like continuing Solaire's story, which is actually a really sad story if you finish it.
Yeah. Yeah, the bosses there aren't that interesting. You've got Centipede Demon, and you've got Demon Fire Sage.
Yeah.
Ceaseless Discharge.
Yeah.
Ceaseless is there. Like there's quite a bit of stuff there, but it's, to me, very underwhelming.
Yeah.
It's all just like red.
Yeah. You've got those horrible centipede enemies.
It just kind of sucks.
Fall down from the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that area. So that would be my least favorite.
How about you, Adrien?
So I think my favorite area is Ash Lake.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily for the gameplay, but
It's
just
cool.
how freaking awesome it is when you finally get down there.
And you're like,
it's just
what?
like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And you see all of the arch trees in the background. That's like, we really are on top of trees. You know, this is like the root of the world.
And like another Hydra? What?
Yeah, there are two more Hydras down there. Yeah, I mean, the Hydras are pain in the butt enemies. I don't like them. And the one NPC down there is like not super interesting.
The dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
The fact that he exists is interesting, but...
Nothing really... Yeah, you talk to him and you're like, okay, you can give him dragon skills, right? And get...
Yeah, he's got a covenant. And...
Yeah, but I forget... The rewards are... Is it the dragon head
I don't remember,
stone or whatever? Like, I thought that was the NPC that gives you the ability to turn into a dragon.
I thought that was in Dark Souls 3.
You can do it in Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay.
And people will actually think it's better in Dark Souls 1.
Okay.
The armor you get is actually... I can't remember if they changed that in 3. I might be thinking 3 that the armor is actually really cool. But in 1, I think you get the head and you can blow fire.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anor Londo would be my favorite, except for one thing, which is it doesn't connect to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear there was supposed to be an Anor Londo streets area. You know, when you're at the top of what do you call it? The area, Sun's Fortress.
Yeah.
When you're at the top of Sun's Fortress, you can see there's an archway there, but it's been bricked in.
Yeah, maybe they were going to connect that.
Yeah,
and then they were like, just let them fly.
Yeah.
Just fly over.
Like, that's still a really cool cutscene when you do arrive, but, you know, just for, like, that missed opportunity. And, interestingly, there is a representation of Anor Londo streets in a later game. I don't want to spoil too much, but there is... I would love to see it backported, but...
Play the other games.
Yeah. Okay.
There are some moments in there where, I know exactly what you're talking about. And when I first saw it, it kind of blew me away. I was like, okay.
But yeah, I would love to have seen have that be continuous, because that's like one of the few places in the world where there is a hard break, and it annoys me.
I didn't even actually see that it was bricked in. I'm going to go back. This has actually inspired me to... I only have it now on Switch, which I don't know if that's the best way to play it, but
I've been playing it.
I'm going to give it a shot. There's a lot of stuff now that... It's been a while since I played the game. I feel like it'll feel like a new experience again.
Yeah, definitely. And then least favorite area is Lost Izalith. I actually love its visual style, and I think it's really cool, and the gameplay there is just awful.
The boss is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you've got like the area just outside of Lost Izalith with all the dragon butts, and the gameplay there sucks, because the dragon butts are a huge pain. They can like kill each other sometimes. And then, like, you get into Lost Izalith, and the enemies there suck. You know, there's the super boring statues that blow fire.
Yep.
There's the horrific fucking... I don't even know how to describe them. Like, tentacle monster things.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah, awful boss.
Basically, everything sucks.
Yeah.
And the boss does not disappoint in terms of suckiness.
Yeah. So I basically just run by everything. Which I hate because the area, like, the visual style is amazing. If it was just a wider area that had more to do, it would probably be one of my favorite areas, but just for that, like, lost potential, it's my least favorite area. I think if I had to go for a second, it would probably be Tomb of the Giants. There's so much, like, you just kind of get mobbed by enemies that suck.
Is that the area that's super dark? Yeah. And isn't that where Patches is, and he kicks you off the ledge like an asshole?
Yeah, that's another area where I just run past all the enemies to the end because it's so in the butt.
I love there's this.
At least with that one, there's no visual incentive to want to stick around.
Right.
You can't
That's
see
true.
anyway.
That's a good point.
I mean, it is really cool that you're on all these like giant stone coffins and everything, but
It's conceptually cool, not the best executed. You know, if I could throw an honorable mention in terms of favorite areas, I'm blanking on the name, but it's the DLC with Artorias. Yeah, I didn't play the DLC through my first playthrough because I didn't have it, and I
didn't exist when
I played it probably 2013, 2014, so I think it was out by then. But my second playthrough, I went through, and I went to the DLC, and I was like, oh my god. One, it already feels like a departure, like some of the enemies are different. Geographically, it's not, you can kind of feel like, oh, it's like Darkroot Garden. And I think it is Darkroot Garden, it's just, so it's visually just looks a little different. But the bosses that are there are some of my favorite. Artorias, not necessarily like the most difficult boss ever, but one of the coolest to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're going to talk about bosses, but okay, I'll leave it at that. And then you have what's the guy with the bow on the top shooting his arrows at you? You have him, and then you have like another dragon there. And so there's Calamine is a pain in the ass to fight solo. Solo is like impossible. But just a lot of cool stuff packed into that area. Yeah. So that's like, I think my second favorite is.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little funny that that's your honorable mention because they are the same area.
Yeah, no, it's like, but they're very different in how they're portrayed and what's in the areas. Maybe Darkroot's my honorable mention and Ulyss's my favorite. Yeah, maybe that's my favorite. Yeah, now that I think about it. Yeah.
Well, like you said, they're kind of interchangeable, right? Like
I think and they have very different things in each of them.
Yeah,
that's true. Did you want to go ahead and do the bosses now?
Let's do bosses. Sure, I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Favorite boss, Ornstein and Snow, hands down. Very, very hard, but I mean, they're just an amazing capstone to the first part of the game.
Which one is that? I don't remember the names very well.
Oh,
yeah.
Ornstein and Snow are the duo boss, the gold armored. They have like the big dude and the skinny dude,
the Dragon Slayer and
Ornstein
and the guy with the big hammer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember them. That sucked, but yeah.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were joking.
I was like,
surely you know.
I was like, this is probably the most iconic boss in the game.
No, I just the names. I have really tough time remembering the names.
Sure.
Yeah.
S'mores and Oreos.
S'mores and Oreos.
If they were named that, I would have remembered it.
Basically, yeah, Snorlax and Pikachu. You're right.
Did you know that there's actually the boss music, which is like the best music in the whole damn game. Somebody mashed it up with Space Jam
Oh, I have heard that. It's so good.
It's amazing.
It's
I want to
hype.
hear that now.
It's hella hype.
When I was fighting that boss, I just remember feeling a little bit like, okay, this is kind of like the game has. I didn't realize that the two bells, that's like really the tutorial.
Yeah.
And then I got to this boss and I was like, all right, so basically go fuck myself, right? So you're telling me
Gloves are off.
I have to fight not just because any other boss, it's either like who's the lower Undeadburg boss, the Capra Demon. I remember that name. Where I was like, okay, the thing that made that boss such a pain in the ass was having to deal with the two hounds.
Yes.
Yep.
First, because otherwise they would just like
They
pincer you,
mob-
and then
mob you.
you're fucked. But if you could take care of them, then he wasn't that tough of a boss.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of bosses like that. The Hydra, I know that doesn't really count as a boss, but
It's like a mini
more
boss.
more of a mini boss. But like the Hydra becomes a lot easier if you just take care of the golems first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that one, it was like you have two full-fledged bosses, two bars at the bottom at the same time. And you're like, I don't even know what to do.
And one of my favorite things about that is too, depending on who you kill first, it changes what the second phase is.
Yeah.
And second phase Ornstein is hella hard.
Every time I beat that boss, it has been killing
Ornstein first.
killing Ornstein first and fighting Super Smo.
Yeah, I would take Super Smo anytime.
Oh yeah.
Ornstein, I've only soloed that boss one time, and I never want to do it again.
Yeah.
And I did Ornstein second phase, and it was hell.
Yeah.
Which one's the big one?
The guy with the hammer.
No, which one's the which name for the big one?
Smo.
Smo.
Okay, so he's the one I fought second or killed second.
Yeah.
But I hadn't basically whittled down both of their life bars to almost nothing before, just because I wasn't concentrating on one. I was concentrating on whichever one I could swing at any given time.
Yeah. What's interesting is that Ornstein basic Ornstein is actually not that tough of a boss. In Dark Souls 2, you actually fight him as a basic boss alone, and he's very easy. He's not that hard to deal with. What makes that fight hard is really that you're fighting two enemies. And that's kind of something fundamental about the Dark Souls combat system is that it punishes you very heavily for taking on more than one enemy.
Oh yeah.
So forcing you to fight two very aggressive and dangerous enemies at the same time is, that's why it's so challenging.
You could have done a little bit of cheese there, being like, my favorite enemy is Schmo, my least favorite is Ornstein.
Yeah, actually, the first time that I beat that boss was as a sorcerer.
Oh yeah.
It's much easier. You basically the big challenge is making sure you have enough shots of sorcery to take them out, which means grinding souls, getting the NPCs to buy stuff from, and then you come in and you've got Great Soul Arrow, and
Great Soul Arrow is so good.
I did it on my second attempt.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy.
Magic is, if you dedicate enough to it and you really go full magic build, I wouldn't say it makes the game like a walk in the park, but it does make certain areas much more
easier.
approachable.
Yeah.
Like you get punished for hand-to-hand combat against Ornstein and Smo, heavily.
Yeah. The second time I did it, I was a melee class, and it was much harder.
My brother tried to prove a point. He was like, I'm going to solo it with just a spear plus 5. And I'm like, okay. He was like, I think he had only leveled up 30 levels or something. He did it, but it took a full day of just going back in over and over and over. And, you look at the damage he does with a spear, and it's minuscule. I'm like, dude, what are you trying to prove? He just likes the challenge. He's crazy.
Yeah. What's crazy is a friend of mine, his brother, who's quite good at video games, he was hyping up to his brother this fight, and his brother, his build was just the Black Knight Greatsword, no armor, and two-handing, so no shield.
Hell yeah.
Hyping it up, his brother, first try, beats the frickin' boss just with that. He's like, I've been hyping this boss up this whole time, and you just frickin' do it in one shot.
If you have the Black Knight Greatsword is also, if you get that drop, incredibly good early.
It's very,
it is one of the more especially depending on, well, maybe not PvP, but PvE, very broken if you get that drop from a Black Knight. As opposed to, you get there's a halberd, Black Knight halberd, and there's Black Knight. There's 3 weapons, I think.
Yeah.
There's not a lance. It's a greatsword, halberd, and something else.
Basic sword.
The regular one is...
No, it's great axe.
Great axe, yeah. But the sword is...
Yeah, it's very good.
It does quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and then the other story I have is, before I ever played Dark Souls, I watched my friends play it. You know, I was in college, and I was watching my roommates play it. And my roommate who beat it first, I think he spent an entire week trying to beat that boss.
Yeah?
Just grinding, getting his ass kicked, and trying again.
Did he have summons?
No, he was going...
Yeah, without summons, it's... First time through a summon, it wasn't like simple, but it made it very doable.
Yeah.
And I remember the second time just going, oh my god. Yeah, you don't have an internet connection in this game with someone to summon in. It will kick your ass.
Yeah. Normally what I'll do if I'm a melee character is I'll summon Solaire.
Yes.
Just so you have somebody to keep both of them off you.
Yeah, when they're both on you, man, dude, there's times you can't evade an attack.
Yeah.
Because you have Ornstein who will fly across stage with his like spear attack.
Yeah.
Which half the time the camera angle's all like messed up, so you're like, you might be looking here, but then there's Ornstein over here doing like a lunge across the entire map, and then you get speared, and you're like, what? This is crazy. Yeah. You're getting butt slammed by Smo.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, dude.
And then I think least favorite boss is actually Capper Demon.
Okay.
It's just a horrible.
It's
it's a rat fight.
It's
like even now, if I go into the Capper Demon fight, it's like I've got a 50-50 chance of dying in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah, legit.
All about getting up those stairs, creating a funnel for the dogs and killing them.
If you are a sorcerer build or something, it's a horrible fight.
And I think if you run up the stairs, the Capper Demon follows you up, and he'll jump on that little ledge.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
It can get stuck though. I think that I was able to tease him a little bit because he got stuck for a little bit.
That's beautiful.
It's like,
yeah, take out the hounds while he's stuck.
Yeah.
And then just drop down attacks every time. Go back up there, Assist Blast, drop down attack. Mm-hmm. But then if he starts to climb and you get out of his way and dodge down, he'll jump right down, and if he lands on you, that might be it.
I'll have some honorable mentions once I hear your guys' least favorite classes.
Let's see. So I'm kind of happy that the Hydra is really more of a mini boss because I was having trouble deciding whether that would be like my favorite or my least favorite. Favorite because I really love the process of cutting its heads off, and as it gets more and more heads off, its attacks become less and less effective.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel like you're really whittling it down and kind of just taking it out. However, its attacks, once I got up close anyway to actually fight it, were never the things that killed me. It was falling off that fucking ledge.
Yeah.
And you can't see very well.
Yep.
And like going into attack it and then, god damn it. Like I died like 10 to 20 times just from the ledge. And I don't think that, again, when I was approaching it the first few times, maybe the water blasts might have done me in. Mm-hmm. But once I was actually at the stage where every time I'm fighting him, I'm actually fighting him, like it was the ledge. And then having to take out the golems one by one each time you want to go back and fight him, like it's just kind of time consuming.
Mm-hmm. You know, what you can do is if you just run by, the Hydra will generally kill the golems with it.
Sometimes I would keep doing that, but eventually I found it like I would let him try a couple of times. It would take out 2 or 3 of them and then just kill the remaining ones because they can take 2 blasts from the water blast before they die.
Yeah, the other problem with that enemy is that once you're down to like 1 head, it can be very difficult to get over and kill it because it actually doesn't aim at you.
Yeah.
Like the last head kind of is over on the side, and you can get in situations where it's like impossible or very, very hard to kill it. Generally what I'll do is I'll have like some throwing knives or something to take out the last sliver of health because taking out the last head is a huge pain.
Yep.
Also, the head attacks are not that dangerous. You just shield and you'll survive. Overall, it's a really cool looking boss, but it's the mechanics of fighting it aren't that great.
So I had that's what I got. Lock on, shield, head smash, disengage the lock, go after one of the heads and just keep slashing it. And then once it finally happened and I died, it was super satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of actual favorites, I think the Chaos Witch Quelag
Oh yeah.
is my favorite because spider titties. Just kind of like didn't know I wanted it, but and the game is very deliberate about it because she's crawling up and it goes from the spider moves up and then all of a sudden you have like a nice little navel,
Right.
and there's some titties and it's like for like a good solid 2 to 3 seconds it's the screen is pretty much just titties.
Oh, it's the booby spider.
This is not a bad way to die.
Yeah.
And then it spews fire at you, and then also memorable to me just because it was my first time summoning someone to help and like just realizing how much easier it is to take care of a boss. Like, that's supposed to be like the hardest boss of the first half of the game.
Yeah.
But if you have Meredith the Man-Eater, or
Mildred.
Mildred the Man-Eater,
Mildred.
I keep calling her Meredith. Mildred the Man-Eater, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Um,
There is one thing though, which is that like the magic blast attack, that will one-shot you very easily, even if you do have Mildred tanking.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to do, you have to watch out if the woman part lays down her hands on the spider head, that means that the blast is coming, and you have to get the hell out of dodge.
Yeah.
I did pick up on that, yeah.
And that's magic damage, so you can't shield it.
Damn.
But if you have a shield that resists magic attacks, that can be helpful.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't remember which one. I don't think I did have that shield, though. I think I was using the Grass Crest shield for a lot of the first half of the game, just because I liked the stamina regen boost.
Yeah, a lot of shields only have like 10 or 20 resists to magic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Grass Crest shield, freaking great.
This is super useful for that.
Yeah.
That's
Least-
like yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Least favorite? God, I think probably... Who's the one that you fight just before you get to the Drake Bridge?
Oh, not the Taurus. Taurus
Yeah,
demon?
I think it was the
Taurus demon.
Yeah, okay.
That thing is...
That one sucked. And what made it hard is that every time you go to fight it, there's undead archers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had to go up and kill them first, or else.
Yeah.
And then at least with that, once you did that, you could use the tower to drop attack it.
Yeah.
But even then, just getting up that ladder, sometimes you have to take
dude.
them all the way to the other end and then sprint back to the
Yeah.
ladder just to get up it before you could get up and attack you. And it was just such a pain in the butt.
The amount of times I got knocked off that ladder, dude, climbing up. It's so tense because you can't see it.
Yep.
It's just behind you, and you're like, I've got a 50-50 chance
Yeah.
of making it up this ladder.
Yeah, and that is the scary part, is you can't see it. You're just watching yourself, and you're like, I hear him getting closer. How close is he?
Also, I was going to say, for your least favorite, let's just get out of the way that a Chaos is a horrible boss.
Yes.
And we don't have to take up
I'm
our
not-
least favorite slot for fucking Chaos.
I'm not picking that, no. Yeah. It's not even worthy of being the least.
It's not even a fun discussion to have.
No.
So no.
Shit
Although,
sucks.
honorable mention for my favorite boss would be the Lord of Cinder. Just 'cause
Yeah.
I think he makes a really great final challenge.
The music
for
is
game.
awesome.
Music is awesome. You really get the idea because he's like this kind of hollowed shell of his former self.
I actually really don't like fighting him.
No.
Yeah, especially as a melee character, it's like because all of his attacks just pierce your block. Like he just kills you. You really have like
His
what
parry.
you see online a lot is like just parry him.
I thought I beat him with melee. And you have to just, once you get the parry timing,
That's how I did it too.
it's almost too easy though at that point. So
I
It was
suck
the
at
only
parrying.
boss that I ever parried. Because
Yeah.
that really is your only recourse.
Yeah.
I
But
think
you don't
the-
have any recourse. I guess.
Hell,
Like-
I've actually never beaten him as a melee character.
Really?
Yeah, just because I suck at parrying.
Hey.
I killed him as a caster. just kited him.
The first time I played through, I was melee build, and I did beat him without parrying
Mhm.
because I was like, I suck at parrying. I'm not going to try. It's going to take too much time. Beating him without parrying it should be an achievement. It is hard because reach is absurd.
Yeah.
Pierce damage, don't even use a shield. It was literally Grass Crest shield, with the what's the ring that gives you extra endurance? The not wood grain. That's the one that is flips or something. It's another ring.
I don't remember.
Anyway, there's another ring that gives you endurance buff, and then ring of favor and protection.
Yeah.
Just stamina up the ass, and it was like rolling constantly, and then get one hit in, roll, one hit, roll.
Yeah, well, my buddy did it without parrying as well. And what he did was he just went full Havel.
Oh yeah, that's a way.
Where it was just like Grass Crest Shield, full Havel armor, Dragon's Tooth two-handed because screw blocking, and he just tanked it through the whole way.
It's a legit strat.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild, but I've seen people solo 4 kings with full Havels, and they do something else like super, like they buff their weapon super hard, and like 4-shot.
Yeah.
And that is
certain bosses. It's like, it is a way to beat it.
There's something interesting there that you mentioned using the grass shield, but then two-handing a weapon. Like you still get that stamina boost like bonus, and that is such a neat little like intricacy that they throw into the game.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that in the original build of Dark Souls, Grass Crest Shield had 100% physical resist.
Oh.
And they nerfed it to like 90.
Yeah.
So that
you're at least taking damage.
Yeah, because it used to be absurd. It was way too good.
Yeah.
Did you do your favorites?
Favorite? Definitely Artorias. Fight is combat. I love because it is. You do have to use some strategy. It's not just a parry. I don't even think you can parry him. Incredibly beautiful, intro cinematic, very very iconic. Like you walk in and he's like killing he's hollowed, right? And you're like also just knowing the lore behind who Artorias is, one of the Knights of Gwyn. Went into the Abyss, and didn't he go into the Abyss to save? Did he go to save Sif, or what did he go into? I forget why he went into the Abyss.
I think it was to kill Manus.
Oh right, kill Manus. Yeah, okay. So, but then you find out, oh shit, he went hollow. Like even this guy, like couldn't withstand. Yeah, and so you get there and you're like, oh shit. And I think there's one of the other Knights of Gwyn is there. What's her name? She's outside the boss fight. And I remember after you kill Artorias, I think she's really bummed or something.
Yeah,
she's like, "Why'd you do that?"
Yeah, she demands his soul.
Yeah, and you can either give it to her,
or you can fight her.
Or you can fight her and get her stuff. And she has she has like you can get the armor, but then there's like a set of weapons too that you get from her that are really good. Yeah. Twin blade or something ridiculous. Basically, it's it's the like super small, like really fast gold scythe thing. But I've run into people with full Havel in PvP with that. And it's like they have unlimited stamina, ridiculous health, and this thing that does like ridiculous, like super fast attacks and gives you bleed damage. And it's like the most broken thing you can possibly run into. And then they'll pull out like giant soul arrow on you.
Yeah.
And like what's the one that creates the 4 orbs?
Oh yeah.
And they track you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is the most toxic build you can fight in PvP because you can't kill them and they have like ridiculous. Anyway, so Artorias is up there, number 1 for me. Least favorite. I was thinking when you said it, Taurus Demon, because it is really annoying, but it's kind of like that, to me, that funny type of iconic annoying where you're like, yeah, I totally remember running across the bridge like a jackass and having to climb that stupid thing. Probably Calamine. So both DLC bosses, favorite and least favorite, just because Calamine without a summon is nearly impossible. You have this flying dragon with a giant AoE attacks. He can hit you with his tail. Like I don't think I ever beat it solo. The reward you get for it is cool, but it's just one of those don't even try.
At least it's an optional boss.
Yeah, it's optional. Cool that it's there, but that's probably my least favorite.
Yeah, and I do have an honorable mention, which is the second demon that you fight in Undead Asylum. He's got the freaking AoE attack.
Oh yeah,
and he's just super tanky. He basically doesn't move. It's just a really boring fight.
Yeah, it's not.
I skipped it. There was no incentive for me.
There's really no reason to do it. All you get is a Titanite slab.
Yeah.
So if you already got your Titanite slab for your main weapon, like don't fight him.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and you fall down into fight him and everything.
Yeah, there's no way to fight him without doing that. You have to
Yeah.
take the fall damage. Unless you have the that one spell that,
Oh, yeah.
that can reduce your fall damage.
Well, what is really funny is that the ground is cracked because the original demon jumped down onto the ground.
That's a good point. I never even thought about that. Yeah. Can't you see that boss too when you first?
Yeah, you look up, he's like waiting.
No. When you are actually, can't you see the one underneath when you start the game?
I'm not sure.
I think you can. You can look to the right.
Yeah. Right when you come out, you can look to the right through the bars and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about that area, though, is there's, I think, the two closest to each other bonfires in the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's the one in that courtyard just before that room, and then there's one in the room just... So it's like you basically have one room dividing two bonfires.
Yeah.
They didn't notice
because they expect you to die alive.
the first part. So this is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is actually possible to beat the boss there the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you do a New Game Plus, then it's really easy. Like, you have real weapons and you can kill him. And you get, like, this axe. Or, if you're dumb, you can do it with your broken sword.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes, like, 30 minutes of just hammering this guy in the butt with your broken sword.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, it's doable.
So that was so we had more listed here for favorites. Maybe we could touch upon them in a little bit.
Okay.
We're keeping an eye on time here.
Okay.
We were approaching the 2-hour mark. I do want to get to a couple of other questions first.
Yeah, go for it.
What does Dark Souls have to say about birth, death, and rebirth?
So Dark Souls posits that the world functions in a cycle. And it's basically saying that the world is going to inevitably follow this cycle of death and birth and rebirth until it ends in ash. Dark Souls is, the whole idea is based around the heat death of the universe, which is a pretty high-flying concept to engage with. And what it really is asking is, what comes after that? What comes after that? And its answer is darkness. So I think if we're talking about the themes, just to go off track a little bit, is you can also see Undeath and Dark Souls as an allegory for depression, where, it really, when, they're talking about, don't go hollow, it really is, the characters really are talking to you, the player.
Yeah. Keep your chin up.
Yeah. Where going hollow is turning the game off and never coming back.
Like, please keep playing.
Yeah.
You're almost there. You're not, but I'll tell you whatever you need to know.
So those are my thoughts.
What about you, Joel?
I'd never really thought about it, but I like what Adrien said about it being an allegory for, depression and mental health. And you even see when you go hollow, there are negatives to it. You lose some health. I guess that's the main one, but you see the visible appearance of your character change.
Yeah, and most of the characters in the game can go hollow.
Yeah.
And that's the end of a lot of their storylines.
Yep.
And, they've completely lost everything that made them them. And the only continuation to that story is to kill them.
Yeah. You see that with Oscar in the beginning, when he kind of is trying to he is the first character you see.
And then if you go back to Undead Asylum, he will be hollow, most likely. I think
he is.
You can kill him though. If you just kill him before you leave, he won't go hollow, right?
Yeah.
You
can kill most characters.
Yeah.
When he's sitting there in the rubble, can you kill him?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I've ever done that. I just felt bad. I was like, wow, this guy's already gonna die. But yeah, it's a good point. You come back and he's fully hollow.
You have to kill him anyway. If anything, you're kind of sparing him that fate, which is kind of a weird.
It is weird to think that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it very much cyclical is the game. I don't know if that was the intended message. I'm sure it is that all things will come to an end and something new will come from it. It may be similar, it may be different, but in the end, time will continue until that point where, what happens when it's just over?
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting question that the game poses, and that they don't directly answer, but in their own lore, especially when you get into Dark Souls 3, kind of gets to that question of, well, what happens now?
Yeah.
It is very interesting. The game, like prior to the start of the game, like long prior to the start of the game, the first age is, I think, the Age of Dragons, in which everything just is. It's neither alive nor dead.
Yep.
I think the scales they cover as being like the source of their immortality for the dragons. And it's not until the Age of Fire, I think, or is it the Age of humanity?
The Age of Fire.
The Age of Fire, where suddenly, who's the first dead?
The first dead is Neo.
Neo, yeah. So Neo, the first dead, is kind of like regarded as like, and then isn't it from him that the curse of the undead comes, or
Graveyard Neo? Yeah, he releases.
No, he releases death itself.
Yeah,
okay, he releases death itself, and I think because of death and because of the fire, the first flame, the curse of the undead is sort of like an inevitability. Like it will always come if there's a fire, the flame is lit. Or
is that the dark sign?
Yeah. So the dark sign is the curse of undeath,
and
it comes because the flame is fading.
Yeah.
So in the original, in the Age of the Gods, there was fire. So fire happens. It never says exactly why, but fire happens, and you have the bearers of the original flames.
With the Witch of Izalith, Gwyn, Nito, and Seath. Is Seath one of them? No, he just betrays
there
the
were
dragons.
3 original flames or souls: the
Yeah.
soul of life, the soul of light, the soul of fire, something like that. But then there was also the dark soul, which was discovered later.
Yes.
Right?
Which was the furtive pygmy Manus.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much.
Yeah, it's
so hard to
even
track.
Obviously, my understanding is not complete, but like, to me, it's like the universe starts in a place without life or death, and I think what we see happening in the first game, and then as you've described in the second, and then eventually the third game, it wants to return to that.
Yes.
It's desperately trying to, but it can't.
Yeah.
Because
of fire.
Because of fire. Because fire is a thing now. Even when it's out, it will return, and this whole cycle will just keep continuing. So it's almost as though like the universe itself is suffering a fate, a cycle when it never wanted to.
What we're seeing in the world, especially in Dark Souls 3, is the world itself is becoming undead.
Yeah.
And there's this whole like, you don't want to go hollow, you want to reverse your hollowing and be human again, but it's so hard to obtain the humanity, as I said, especially if you're new to the game. Like, I feel like it's very easy to go through most of the game just like, fuck it, I'll just be hollow. Because why even go through that process if it's just like, unless exactly to kindle a flame, which is like, I think to me the biggest, most I think the biggest benefit for me for the long time, until I realized I could summon people for boss battles, was like, I could kindle a flame and get 10 Estus flasks instead of 5. But until it's until you can summon people, that's like the biggest thing. I also think that the game is like a lot of really interesting symbolism. I think a lot of it like touches on. So there's this Wisecrack video that I'll link, which was really great because it kind of went into some of the philosophy behind it. And in there, they kind of like pointed out that the game is filled with archways being protected by big guys with giant phallic swords.
Now that you mention it, you're right.
In the first game, you start out in the asylum, I believe, and it's a struggle to get out in the beginning of the first archway, and so you're fighting to be born, and then by the end of the game, you're trying to get to the Lord of Cinder, and he's guarded by like 5 guys with knights with big swords, and even just to get to his archway where the boss battle is, so you're fighting your way back into the womb, and it's an even harder fight. Like it's like almost as if like the game itself is telling you like being born was a mistake. They say it in the Wisecrack video. Again, I don't want to like plagiarize this, so I will link it in the description so that people know that I'm not just trying to take credit for this observation. But I did kind of shape my viewing of the world as I was going through it. I was just looking through for any evidence of like both the game's world and you yourself as a player, like deciding like, okay, like maybe being born was a bad idea. Like maybe starting time was a bad idea. Like,
yeah, I hadn't thought of the killing of the first flame as an allegory for a womb. It was interesting.
It's a cool concept. I never thought about it.
I'll definitely send you guys the link too to that video. Cool. It's really fun. Like I watched it recently in preparation for this episode, which I was like, oh wow, that's actually a pretty cool point.
That's awesome.
I really like that. Thank you, Wisecrack. Do you guys feel as though storytelling at its core, like a lot of the most famous storytelling cycles, have the character setting out on a journey with a goal in mind, and either they do achieve it or they don't achieve it. They don't get what they wanted, or they do get it and it's not what they thought it would be. And either way, they have changed by the end of it. With the gaming medium, you are an active part of the story. And so I think it's an important question to ask in certain games, especially this one. Do you feel changed by this game? As a character that played, you were that character. Your character in the game has obviously changed. They've gotten stronger. They've had to deal with being cursed or having to, like figure out things about the world. They've grown in their understanding of the world. But do you, the player, feel changed by the game?
Yeah, I think it had the same effect or a similar effect that playing Ocarina of Time did for me. And that is just it changed my view and how I perceive the medium of video games and how stories can be told, and they don't have to be so direct and in your face. One of the beautiful things about not Ocarina of Time specifically, but Legend of Zelda itself, when it first was released on NES, is it was to me it feels similar to Dark Souls in a lot of ways, where it's you're in this world, there's some minimal storytelling, there is clearly a world and lore behind it, but it's really go out and explore and experience. And to me it is the type of game that helps you become more in tune with yourself. At least it did for me, in terms of you're overcoming challenges, you're playing the way you want to play. It is very much a sandbox style game where it's like, here's this giant world, do what you want with it. If you want to kill the NPCs and not ever talk to them, you can do that. And it doesn't really matter. Like, it will have repercussions, and you experience those repercussions. Or you can engage with them, you can befriend them, you can be tricked by some of them. And so it is just, it definitely changed my idea of what I enjoy in a video game. To me, Souls games are now some of my top favorite games to play. And there's a reason every single time FromSoft comes out with a game, it's like I'm buying it day one. It changed. It made me a fan for what the games do and how you play them, for sure.
Totally.
Definitely. I mean, I basically agree with everything that you just said. But also, myself as a game developer, I feel like Dark Souls was really formative there, where it provides this counterbalance where it's like, it is okay to challenge your players. It is okay to confuse your players. It's where, and I think it changed the industry a lot. But, for me personally, what I want to build and in the way that, even like how I DM, if I'm playing D&D or something, is very heavily based or shaped by Dark Souls, with this idea of like, push your players a little bit. Let them make mistakes. Let things go horribly wrong. Let them kind of do what they want, but have the game and the game world be built in a way such that that's okay. And you really see that in a lot of the Dark Souls mechanics. Like with your story about getting cursed until you have no HP. It's like, you shouldn't let that happen, but the game systems allow it because they're like, I mean, if you want to be that's how you want to play, okay. If you want to play the entire game as a naked man with a giant sword and just parry and dodge everything, you can do that. Mm-hmm. If you want to tank up and hide behind your shield the entire game, you can do that too. Mm-hmm. But just that openness of game systems and that trust in the player, I think, is the most important takeaways that I had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that for me, just walking around in life, I think that the permanence of your mistakes in any run through Dark Souls, like if you kill somebody you shouldn't have, even if you haven't rested at a bonfire, if you quit and reload, you're gonna still have to suffer. Like that playthrough is permanently scarred by that decision, that mistake.
Yeah.
That has really shaped a lot in the last couple of weeks as I've been playing it. A lot of how I go through life is like, there's a lot of things you can make a mistake on. In particular with relationships with people where it's like, people will give you the benefit of the doubt, but it has shaped me professionally, like when I'm dealing with people at work or whatever, like there's some things that you say that you can't take back. Yeah. There are some mistakes that you make that people will say, it's fine, mistakes happen, and they're not going to actively ruin your life over it, but it will affect probably forever the way that person sees you.
Yeah.
And there's no real taking that back. And I mean, that's a weird lesson to have to learn from a game. And obviously it's not something that I haven't thought about. Obviously you should always be careful with your words. My mom raised me that way as well. But the game doing that with that permanence, it has really kind of like helped to keep that in the forefront of my mind a little bit more so recently. I really appreciated that from the game. Like,
definitely.
Again, I do think there are some lessons that certain people, myself included, learn better through gaming, which is why I think that gaming literacy is so important.
Yeah.
I think that most of the questions left are yours, Adrien.
Cool. Yeah.
Do you want to start getting through those?
Yeah, let's do it. Alrighty. We talked about that. We talked about that. Well, we talked about that too. Here we go. Here's one. Last one. How does Dark Souls create immersion, tension, and sense of space?
Ooh, I love this one.
And we talked a little bit about sense of space and how, the world really wraps in around on itself, and things like shortcuts really make you feel like this is a world that has its own logic. But what about the rest of those?
I do think that in that way, everything being in a very specific place and for a specific reason helped to immerse me in the atmosphere and in the locations. But there's also things that are really great game design that by their nature kind of break that immersion a little bit if you put too much thought into it. Like, such as the fact that a friend of mine a long time ago, when I first started playing the game for the very first time, like one of the things they really praised about it, shout out to you, Will, if you're listening, was that every enemy is placed very specifically, either to teach you something or to challenge something that you've already learned, or to keep you on your toes in a way, or to just make every encounter some kind of a puzzle as well as a combat situation. And in that way, I think it's really cool. But at the same time, I also feel like it breaks away from the idea of this world being an active world when every enemy in it is just sitting around waiting for you to show up. So in that way, I think that like it was really good game design, but like world building wise, it's just like, okay, I don't think that these trees are up to anything when they're not trying to kill me.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Joel?
So spatially and just from and how the environments are built, I think immersion for me and really engaging with the concept of you are a hollow. This is a land of giants. To me, it's very clear from the get-go. Like Firelink, you kind of get a feel like this is my size. This is human-sized. And even some of the surrounding areas are, you can imagine there's like people live here.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you start getting like further into the world and seeing certain areas are massive, and not just like, oh, they're expansive, like, oh, these are clearly built for giants.
Yeah, like the steps going up into
Yeah.
Londo, and you've got the little
The side-
person steps,
Yes.
and then you've got the real ones for the giants.
It is very impressive, and it to me helps a lot with the immersion and the idea that you're small fry in this world, and to overcome it totally fits for me with the difficulty. Yeah, you're kind of going up against things that the gods and the giants would say, yeah, you're a human. How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you come into our world and not only be here, like, we'll have stairs for you, I guess. But, yeah, you want to fight us? Come on. Like, so to me, that is incredible in terms of just the world itself, the design. And then spatially, I love that different areas, there are tight quarter areas, which feel much more intense, especially with PvP combat if you have invasions on. Some of those areas can feel extremely tense, especially if the invader utilizes other NPCs or enemies in incongruence with their attacks. It's like I've had times where they'll run around the corner and you just forget for a second, like, oh, there's 3 enemies there. And then you're like, oh. And so you run around the corner and then immediately you're like, whoop, and you're going right back. And then there's like 3 enemies plus the invader following you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and that can be extremely tense when you are, you've made progress to a certain point and you go, shit, like I was right there at the fog gate and now I have to figure out a way to get around, or you can just use the OP method of disconnecting from the world. I'm not losing my stuff. I'm going to disconnect.
I love, I just got this visual in my head of like you running around the corner and then running back
the
out,
camera
chased by more.
Yeah.
Like the camera doesn't follow you.
Yeah.
You come back and you hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yakety sax starts playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Scooby-Doo music. Like just like open a door and there's another invader. And he's like, I don't know, trying on a dress for some reason. Like,
No, it definitely added to the tension for me. Some really like great moments of triumph and great moments of frustration, whether it was an invader or not. Just you're always on edge when you're in certain areas, and you've got to have your wits about you. You've got to be, and that to me is what fully engages at least me with the game, is that you can't play it passively. Some games you can some games you can put a YouTube video on the side and be like, yeah, cool, I'm just gonna like kind of half focus on the game, and but this is like, no, you don't want to do that because you don't get the full experience, I think, if you play it passively.
One thing I wanted to bring up is that all of Dark Souls retry mechanics are baked into the world. And that is great from an immersion perspective, where dying just feels like another thing that happens in this world. It's unlike in a lot of games where it's like, you died, that didn't really happen. Go back to your previous save, or your adventure is over, or just a sort of like respawn. And in Dark Souls this is happening constantly. Even its multiplayer mechanics are explained in ways that make sense, where it's like there are many of these worlds and you're just kind of crossing over into them. So I feel like that is really great, where a game has found a way to make those kind of necessities of just being a game part of the world. And then another thing for tension, Dark Souls, again, to talk about its death mechanics, does this great thing where, because you can lose things, because there can be consequences for dying, I think that adds a ton of tension to the game, where if like, oh, I died deep in this level, I've got all those souls. Now where previously I might have been pretty not cautious, just kind of running through the level, killing guys. Now, when there's souls on the line, suddenly it's like, oh shit, I really need to play well in order to get all those back.
It's such a defining mechanic too. Like, it definitely forced me to rethink my side quest FOMO tendencies. It's like, oh, look at that thing over there. Maybe I'll just go. Like, if this were Breath of the Wild, I'd be like, I know I was heading over there, but that looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll make a little like detour. Like this game's like no detours. No, I'm going to the bonfire first before I do anything. And if this thing that I saw that looked kind of interesting is way out of the way from where I'm going next from the bonfire, I probably just won't even go.
Oh man, finally finding a bonfire after a tough level is just the sense of relief. You know, like when you get that bonfire in Blight Town, it's like finally a bonfire.
Which one?
Either of them, honestly.
Yeah, either, yeah.
So with that, I think what we've got are just a couple more favorites.
Yeah. Maybe we could do that for post game.
If you've got to get going.
No, just do yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. That's
cool. Let's talk about weapons then.
Yeah. Battle axe. It's pretty much. I know it's so basic, but I just kept leveling it up, putting stuff on it, and eventually it was just like, this is the one I use. Like, I know how it swings. I know everything I can do with it, and I was, especially towards the end of the game, where timing was almost more important than the strength of your actual attack. Like, I was just like, I'd rather continue to use the thing that I've mastered than use a stronger weapon maybe that I just am not going to be able to accurately predict.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things with Dark Souls weapon system is like, except for weapons, like all basic weapons can basically take you through the game. If you really want to, you can take that straight sword or long sword through the entire game, keep leveling it up. If you just love that moveset, keep it. It's only the weapons that are hard to upgrade, like the Drake sword, that fall off.
I think it maxes at +5 or something.
It maxes at +5 and dragon scales to upgrade it, which there are very few of.
It's not really worth it.
And it's not worth it, yeah.
My favorite weapon is the washing pole. The super long katana.
Yeah.
I don't think I got that one.
It's cool. They're very good for reach because I think it has like a stabbing attack, and it's like Sephiroth's like sword. It really is. Also, one of my favorite weapons, just because of what happened and how I got it, is I got the Chaos Uchigatana +10. So it's just the katana, but someone invaded me in my first playthrough at the Bell Gargoyle area. And instead of killing me, it was like some super high level guy, and he dropped a bag. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What's he doing? And it was the Chaos +10 Uchigatana.
Oh, damn.
And I was like level 10. And I'm looking at it going like, wow, this thing's really good. And then he killed me after I picked it up. And I was like, what a dick. And then I looked at it and I started like one-shotting things. And I was like, whoa. So my first playthrough for a while was very broken because this guy had gifted me like a weapon from the gods.
Yeah.
But that one was fun, but I think washing pole is still favorite weapon.
How about you, Adrien?
For me, I think my favorite basic weapon is the Boulder Side Sword. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's a huge pain in the ass to get the drop.
Okay.
So it's the like kind of rapier that the Boulder Knights have, and I think the drop rate is like 1%.
Oh my god!
So sometimes you get lucky and just get it. Other times you have to grind for it.
Yeah, it's painful.
Well, and one of the YouTubers that I watched called it the Boulder Swag Sword.
Boulder Swag Sword. Oh man, that's
or
awesome.
Or if you really want the Baller Swag Sword.
Baller Swag Sword. Nice.
It's got a really nice moveset, and it scales with dex. So it's a really popular weapon to like buff and stuff. And then the other one, most of my playthroughs that I'm trying to like kind of break the game, if you start with the Master Key, you can go down into the Valley of Drakes, and the Undead Dragon, there are a couple of items that he's like sleeping, and if you pick him up, he comes to life. But you get this sword that I think it requires faith to wield it, but it does like all of it. It's basically, it's got like normal sword damage, but then also that same amount of damage as magic damage.
Oh.
And it just does one-shot stuff.
Does it scale too with your magic if you upgrade?
I
wonder.
I don't remember. It might scale. I think it does scale the magic with your faith.
Whoa, that's cool.
That's so cool. Like, and is it 2 numbers per strike that you see?
Yeah, it's 2.
So it's like 2 the same, like.
Or you don't actually see the 2 numbers when you strike, but that is how the damage is dealt.
Okay. And they just stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
You see the final number.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's the other thing is like, again, this very first playthrough was such a basic one for me because I was like really just like more scared of missing my attacks than of not doing as much damage as I could have done.
Just a guy and his axe.
Just a guy and his axe. And the grass crest shield.
That's how you do it.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, the longsword and its variants have awesome moveset. Like your strong attack is this really long stab that you can use to get like a lot of reach out.
Oh man, yeah.
And then you can after you do that, if you strong attack again, you'll do this like upward strike that comes out really fast. So it's just great for PvE.
Yep.
And then, of course, I've also done a playthrough with a Zweihander.
Oh, the Zweihander is sick.
The one that you get at the very beginning.
The big boy.
The big boy. You can just run up to enemies. You just pancake them. You just strong attack, and it just crushes them. They go down immediately.
Get down! Stay down!
Yeah. Of course, it takes like all of your stamina to do that attack, but
you won't need it anymore.
Right, they're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
That's
and then
great.
lastly, what is your favorite NPC?
Solaire, easy Solaire. Just like he's iconic. Like he's everywhere. He is the face of Dark Souls.
Yep.
If I'm not picking Solaire though, I actually do really like Big Hat Logan.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the guy you find at the gate that you need the 2 bells to ring.
No,
Sen?
that's what's Onion Knight's name? Onion Knight guy is at Sen's Fortress. Why am I blanking on his name? Anyway, he's cool too. His story is actually kind of sad.
Yeah,
actually, everyone's story is kind of sad if you play them all the way through. No, I like Big Hat Logan just because he's kind of quirky guy. Sells you lots of great different magic spells and stuff. And Big Hat Logan is in Sen's Fortress locked up, right? Or is he who's the guy? Yeah, he is. Who's the guy in the barrel?
That's
the Pyromancer, right?
Yeah, he's I think he is.
No,
Or the other sorcerer.
There are actually, isn't there two? Because there's the Pyromancer and there's the other sorcerer. I think they're both locked in barrels.
I think they are.
So which barrel? So there's the one that's in right when you get to lower Undeadburg.
Yep.
Yeah, there's that guy. I forget. I'm honestly having a hard time remembering who's where.
They move around.
Yeah. Anyway, I like Big Hat Logan. If I didn't have to pick Solaire,
I think Onion Knight, whatever.
Sigmar.
Sigmar, yeah.
Okay, I think that would be my favorite, just because when I didn't even finish his quest line, but when I first met him, he's at the end of that bridge, and I didn't know what was at the end of that bridge. And he goes, "I'm supposed to keep going, but there's this gate up, and I'm not quite sure what to do. I think I'll just sit here for a little while and think about life or whatever it is." He's just like strangely like not letting it get to him. Like he's just like, "I'm just gonna sit here until something happens." You being that something.
Yeah.
it is true. You are the catalyst for everything
Yes.
in the world, and that is kind of cool. It makes you feel like you are making a difference and act like spurring things on.
The thing that makes you the chosen undead is the fact that you're actually going out and doing stuff.
Extremely charismatic. Everyone loves you.
You're just chilling. They don't really care about each other, but
I like that undead guy.
he's pretty sweet.
Pretty sick, dude.
Yeah.
How about you, Adrien? You're looking up the name?
Yeah, I'm looking up a name.
That was me with Mario 64 podcast. The level, the level,
thing,
the one with the thing in it. That guy with the armor.
You know the guy? You talked to him
And the weapon.
once, twice, maybe?
He has some dialogue. So he's got a
He's a
face.
human, I think.
He's got a face and some limbs and. You could choose Frampt, the serpent.
He's so weird.
He's weird.
He's
He's
really
weird,
creepy.
You could go with Guinevere.
She doesn't.
She's not even real.
She's not even real.
She's not even real.
Don't tell me those movies weren't real.
She's not real. Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna go with Andre. He's just a chill dude.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. He's a homie.
Don't you go turning hollow on me.
Oh yeah.
Just don't go. Good
choice. Good
Like,
choice.
he's just like chilling where he's chilling. Like he's found like the weirdest spot to put like to set up his shop, but also probably the most secure.
Yeah.
Especially for someone like Andre who could swat anybody coming in through the 3 doors.
Right.
Like flies. Like
Oh man, if you try to fight him, he's tough. Like if you attack him,
Oh, yeah.
he
will
whoops your
fuck you
ass.
up.
He is a tough. Yeah, and I think they did that on purpose,
Yeah.
so you can't easily kill him.
Yeah, because he's got all those items.
Yeah. Very much a detriment if you take out Andre.
Yeah.
or aggro him and also kill the partner.
Yes. Yeah, you're screwed then at that point. You just have to reset.
Yeah.
New game. Game over, man.
Game over. You'd have to do a magic build,
Yeah.
I think.
So there's actually another blacksmith.
Yeah.
So there are 3 blacksmiths,
Mhm.
or there's more than that, but
The skeleton guy.
there's a skeleton guy. There's actually one in New Londo
Mhm.
that most people miss.
I don't even know if I found him in my playthroughs.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
spent as
yes.
little time in
He's
New Londo as I
underneath
could.
in like the bars, right?
Yeah, he's behind some
Okay.
bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, interestingly, his name is a Berserk reference.
Oh, okay.
Rickert.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I know there are a lot of
There's a
Berserk
lot of
references
Berserk
in
references.
Dark Souls. Yeah.
Yeah. Just throwing a few out, like the dark side
Mhm.
is very similar to the mark of
Mhm.
the curse in Berserk. I
Yep.
mean, you've got all the swords.
Mhm.
Got Rickert there. But yeah, if you don't know about Rickert, which is likely because most people miss him, if you kill or aggro Andre, the next freaking blacksmith is in Anor Londo,
Yeah.
past the archers.
Mhm. Yep. Not fun.
Not fun.
But I mean, like, yeah, if you kill Andre before then, like, before you've got a reliable way to get there, you pretty much just stuck doing a magic build, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
that's the
Or
only way
using-
to get attacked strong enough.
Yeah. Or you pick up that lightning spear in Sun's Fortress and suffer using that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an option.
Again, the game's full of options.
Yeah.
You can kill Andre.
I mean,
Probably shouldn't have killed the partner, but I did, and I beat the game. So
You know, I really like that you can kill NPCs in Dark Souls
Mhm.
because, like, there's that kind of player who tries to attack allies and then feels smug about how there's no friendly fire in the game and does this constantly. And in Dark Souls, it's like, no, you can attack them. You can even kill them and take their stuff. Just you have to be ready for the consequences.
And if you don't know that, if you think it's like Ocarina of Time where you could run up to the guards and just slash them a bunch and have nothing happen, be like, little punk.
it's true.
Yeah, my friend whose Dark Souls playthrough I watched, my first encounter with Dark Souls was him playing it. He's that kind of player, and figured out very quickly. I think he attacked the what's his name right at Firelink Shrine.
Well, the guy who basically tells you where to go.
or the guy who's just like bummed out.
Oh, who's sitting on the steps?
Yeah,
I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about.
yeah.
The guy who's like one high, one low, the bells.
I think so. He's the one who's basically saying it's all hopeless.
Yeah.
So my friend immediately attacked him and was like, "Oh shit, I'm fighting this guy."
Yeah.
He got stomped.
Yeah. A lot of the NPCs, if you're low level, will whoop your ass.
Oh yeah.
If he thinks it's hopeless, everything's hopeless, then why is he putting up such a fight?
What's also funny, you don't get anything from killing him.
No.
No souls, no nothing.
I think you get some souls, but he doesn't drop any good gear or anything.
Yeah.
And the NPCs don't usually give you a whole lot of souls. Like I think, like for the partner, I only got like a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Or like
I'd say the
less,
only NPC that I routinely kill is the Undead Merchant.
Really?
Mhm.
Because you can get pretty much everything.
Yeah,
from him.
you get a whole bunch of stuff from him.
Uh-huh.
Including
Including the key. I've seen a lot of speedrunners will just throw a firebomb at him,
Yeah.
so they can get the key that he has to the dark room.
Oh.
Not dark room.
it's into the houses, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So you
can.
can get their key.
Yeah,
without
it's
having to go
because
over there.
speedruns use sorcery,
Mhm.
so they need to unlock the initial sorcery guy.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Sorcery is really busted. What speedruns do is they get dark bead So they go into the DLC, they get Dark Bead, and that sorcery's just broken. They basically one-shot most of the bosses. Because what it does is it fires like this spread, and I think the intention was that you'd like kind of use it for crowd control. But it shoots like 10 fireballs or little dark balls. If you just run up to a boss and
right in front of them,
and all 10 hit them, they just stop. Like,
damn, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I've never used so that's something I've never used sorcery in the first Dark Souls. I used it in Dark Souls 2. I used a hex build. So we talk about broken. Like it was easy mode in Dark Souls 2 because I had heard how bad the actual melee combat is. So I was like, well, I'll just do a hex build. It's like one shot everything. Nothing ever touches you. If anything gets close, you run away.
Yeah.
Shoot stuff.
Yeah. One thing that is fun is a Pyromancer build. I haven't done a full playthrough as a Pyromancer, but I really want to because like some of those late game Pyromancies are nuts.
Oh yeah.
And the other interesting thing about Pyromancy is that it doesn't care about any of your stats. It only cares about the upgrade level of your Pyromancer flame.
That's a good point, yeah. So you could technically do any combination of Pyromancer
You
if
just
you
have
wanted.
to grind it out.
Yeah.
It's also really popular for people smurfing.
Okay.
There's
smurfing.
It's also called twinking. That's where you basically you gank people who are really low level with a super powerful build, but you game the system so that you can fight them.
You can be like their level or close to it, but have just absurd gear
and
or abilities.
Pyromancy is a popular one for doing that because it's a really easy way.
Yeah.
That's neat. So I just learned something.
You don't want to encounter people who are doing this.
Yeah.
It is very annoying. You just
die.
die immediately. You can't damage them hardly at all.
Yeah.
And they one-shot you or two-shot you.
Yeah, like some of those like great chaos sorcery or great chaos pyromancies where just like the entire room explodes in flames.
Yep.
Like, I can't do anything about this.
Isn't there one where like flames shoot up from the ground and
Yeah.
it's like you just have to get lucky and not be where one of the flames is spouting from?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
There's no like warning. Like
There's kind of a warning. Like you'll see the animation, but you're just left at it's just luck.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you might be in the wrong spot and then
maybe
boom,
you could roll out of the way, but
yeah, it's not fun.
it's rough.
Or like Wrath of the Gods. That was something I always ran into. You just Wrath of the Gods is there's a spell called Force, and that will like bounce people back. But Wrath of the Gods is like Force on crack.
Yeah.
So it's like does like one shot kill and blows you away. And so you can roll out of the way, but it's hard. So people will come into a PvP area and just start using Wrath of the Gods. And if you're near a cliff and you get hit by it, you just get blown off the cliff.
Yeah. There's actually a weapon that lets you do it as well.
Yeah.
So you can just like quick swap to a new weapon, Wrath of Gods.
Yeah. It's a hard spell to get, but once you have it, you're...
Yeah. Oh, actually, while we're talking about funny PvP builds, there are some awesome ones. Like there was one build, I don't remember the YouTuber, but it was just 2 Havel's shields. So they're in full Havel's gear, 2 Havel's shields, and they're invading by the archers in Anor Londo, and they called it the Wall. And they just stand at the top of that flying archers, and they just push people off.
That's so good. I would be pissed, but it's so good. You have to respect it.
And
Just like...
And what they'll do, if the person can get by them, they'll like drop some stuff and leave. They're just like, I'm not here. I'm just here to make this awful part of the game even worse. If you can get by me, okay, you got
disgusting.
it. I'm out.
So disgusting.
You win. That was the challenge. You didn't have to kill me. You just had to get past me.
Yep.
Good job.
The giant dad build is still my favorite.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
An absolute iconic PvP build where it's the giant or it's the dad mask from Pinwheel. So you have to get that drop.
Yep.
And then you have like the forest something armor that has really high
what
poise.
you do
Something
is
with poise.
It's the giant armor.
Yeah, the giant armor. So the poise is just absurd. So meaning if someone hits you, it takes a lot to stagger.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll go in with giant armor with the dab mask with a Zweihander plus 10, I think.
Yep. Zweihander plus 15.
Or plus 15, yeah.
And a grass crest shield.
And a grass crest shield.
But
and
you're two-handed with Zweihander.
literally, it's just R1 mash, and you can hit them, but it doesn't stagger them, so they just keep hitting R1.
Yeah.
You can beat it, but it's just stupid.
Yeah. That's what my melee playthrough was.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's literally all you need.
That's great. So we just crossed the 2.5 hour mark.
All right.
I think that's a pretty good place to call it.
I think it's a good place to call it.
Thank you both so much for being on this again. Joel, thank you for coming. Adrien, thank you for hosting. We're in your place right now recording. So this has been awesome. This has been Dark Souls. Already our longest episode yet. So all of you listening and making it through this, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Till next time, stay nerdy. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Praise the sun.
Praise the sun.